one more win to be crowned champions in this tournament. And it looks like the runners are off, but you want to tell us a little bit about just the background for how this game works, what the runners are going to have to do, and what they're trying to accomplish?
All right, so the bare bone goal of this game, this particular randomizer, is that you must complete both games. So what entails completing both games? Well, in the Link to the Past side, standard rules apply. Complete all 7 crystals and then defeat Ganon, walking to the Triforce room. In Super Metroid, you would need to defeat all 4 major bosses, Mother Brain, and escape.
Yeah, and even though this is a team tournament, each runner on both teams will have to complete both games in order for a team to be victorious. It's the first team across the finish line. So basically, they're playing a game of do not come in fourth. And looks like Wild has headed down into Blue Brinstar, 2 items down here to check, whereas all other 3 runners have headed over into Hyrule. Alucard and Andy headed for Uncle. And Ivan is going right for the Lost Woods and probably top to bottom Kakariko. But not much in Blue Brinstar for Wild this time, just bombs and a piece of heart, but looks like he's keeping those.
Interesting move, and we do see a heart container and a pack of supers on the Uncle here. We also saw WildAnaconda's favorite item there, the spring ball on the Hylia Island, of course requiring Dark World access, the flippers, and the mirror to retrieve.
Yeah, and that bush crab was dispensing 4 bomb drops. Really, really nice for the runners in the early game. Gonna ensure that they're able to use bombs offensively or to explore places. Bush crabs in a few very useful early game spots in the game. So that's going to take care of one of the early game concerns that's very common. And I've been thinking about those power bombs there at the mushroom spot. That's one of those things you're going to want to find as many as you can of early.
Oh, absolutely. It is one of those critical items you want to find early before possibly or potentially routing yourself back into Super Metroid to really kind of maximize where you can go.
Yeah, and so for anyone not familiar with either side of this game, I see a question in chat about the Super Metroid items. So the things they're going to be looking for early, that top left item is the morphing ball, and that's going to let Samus get through cracks. And ooh, the Lost Woods thief hideout there with the fire rod on Andy's screen. But that morph ball is going to be the key to mobility early, coupled with power bombs to blow through walls. Power bombs not on the tracker, but critically important at that mushroom spot. Then next to that, we got both suits, the various suit to survive heated rooms and the gravity suit to move underwater unhindered. The speed booster to let him go fast, kind of the boots analog, and then the boots, which lets you jump high. Couple beams, charge beam and ice beam. We got screw attack, spring ball, and space jump, some extra mobility items that unlock some areas. But really, the suits and the morphing ball are the key items that the runners are going to be looking for early on for Super Metroid.
And speaking of key items, there we go, is one of those mobility items in the back of Well. We find Screw Attack. Also in Blind's basement, we do find the flippers, a very interesting and intriguing mobility item in Link to the Past early on. Does open up the Zora area now for them to travel.
Yeah, although that Screw Attack is what's got me intrigued, because that opens up the path over to Green and Pink Brinstar in Super Metroid without Morph Ball. We'll see if either team sends a runner over to make that play. And more power bombs in the basement of Blind's hut as well, so 10 power bombs. I think as soon as we see Morphing Ball show up, we are going to have kind of free reign over in the Super Metroid part of the game.
Yo, that was a nice Moldorm kill there by WildAnaconda. Really got trolled with the Trolldorm living up to his name, kind of sitting in between the 2 and the left gap there, but actually managed to deboost and kill him there. That was a great move.
Yeah, and then getting frame ruled on the last one. Those Smoldorms there were little trolls today, but he made it through. Good play by Wild, but with 400 rupees, he's going to be shy on Zora still. So we may need to wait for Zora, even with those flippers.
All right, so we do have Wild Anaconda going to show us a little bit of a peek of something we haven't seen yet so far in the Ice Rod Cave. Without flippers, I imagine me going back to Kakariko, whereas the remainder of our runners probably will be hitting up South Shore now momentarily.
Yeah, those crabs were a little bit of jerks there, but Wild's able to dodge them effectively. Did have 2.5 hearts, so he had a hit to give. But those crabs hit very hard. He gets X-ray scope for his prize. X-ray scope, not a critical Super Metroid item in a lot of cases, but it's something that we may see the runners use to their advantage, and if that comes up, we'll have to explain it. But it will let them see through walls and see some hidden items in Super Metroid, maybe save some seconds here and there.
Well, with the early charge beam they have acquired, as you mentioned, that X-ray could be very potentially worthwhile for bosses such as Dragon, with maybe paired with a plasma beam.
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes out for plasma. That is one of the most powerful weapon upgrades you can get for Super Metroid, and coupled with charge beam and X-ray beam, can really form a potent combo. And so we have our runners mostly kind of tracing one another's steps and filling out, basically getting all the things that the other runners have found. Looks like Wild now just now learned about the racing game, but just a big 20 there. So I'm curious. Looks like we do have Ivan going into the front of Escape. I wonder if Alu is headed for Eastern right now. Eastern Sash seems very reasonable.
That's exactly what it looks like he's going. He could be going towards the warp here, but nah, he's kind of nudging towards north, so he's going to be definitely heading out to that Sash Eastern play.
Yeah, so there are a handful of spots in sort of what we call Sphere 1 of the logic, especially in A Link to the Past, that are out of the way and not necessary to get, and those are the things that the runners are going to be trying to explore as efficiently as possible as a team. So we're going to see one runner go over to Eastern for each team, and probably one runner head into Escape, for instance, or head over toward Desert to check Agina's Cave. Kind of those out-of-the-way things that would take quite a while to get through by oneself, but as a team you can really sweep it out pretty efficiently.
And Ivan actually finding quite a bit of worth here in Escape so far. Picks up the hammer in the first chest right now, and also picks up the mushroom, referred to as a fetch quest, more commonly in the Link to the Past Rando side, in the second chest here.
Wow, those crabs for Andy were almost worse than the ones Wild had, and he was able to also make it through. He's going to get his X-ray scope. But yeah, hammer and mushroom for Ivan in Escape is no joke. Hammer is a critical piece of Dark World access, which tells us that, Aghanim is less likely to be required in this seed, but also a very potent weapon early on. We'll see what Alu finds in Eastern Palace to see if it's of similar value. Oh yeah, it's of greater value. I expect we will see Wild Anaconda head for Eastern post-haste with that Morph Ball knowledge. That is a massive, massive find. With Power Bombs and Screw Attack and now Morph Ball, that really opens up a lot of Super Metroid. And so I think the way Wild and Alu tend to split things up, Wild gets put on Super Metroid duty more often than not, so I think that we will see him make that rush for Super Metroid here in the very near future.
Right, and we actually do see Andy picking up the first Power Glove at the Hobo, so both teams really finding varying ways of worth. Could be a very intriguing story here to be told if Team Wildcard actually kind of prioritizes Metroid, whereas Team Farts actually prioritizes Link to the Past, that they're able to find that Moon Pearl for Dark World access.
Yeah, if Moon Pearl's in back of Escape here for Andy, that creates a really compelling narrative. And I kind of hope it is for just that reason. Alas, key and map means there is something in Darkcross, though. Looks like Andy might be headed that way. With the fire rod, some torches back here are going to make it pretty easy to see, make it a little easier to get Keyrat in this room. He also has a bee he could use, and looks like he is setting up for it.
So this move here to get to the Dark Sewers is currently out of logic. In Link to the Past Randomizer, it does not require you to navigate dark rooms such as these to go to items. So it'll never force you to find progression here. So he's just essentially doing this because he's in the area. He doesn't want to reroute it now, and it could be pretty valuable what he finds here, depending on where the lamp may be in logic.
Absolutely, and he did have a fire rod shot there to use for that torch. Well done by Andy, nicely navigated, but just for a bomb capacity upgrade. But part of the way this crossover rando works is because there's so many items you need to find and in so many locations. Really, you're rewarded for being thorough, and that's a loose square that Team Farts will not have. So even though it wasn't something, it was absolutely worth doing. And shocker, Wild Anaconda running right for that morph ball. I think we're going to see a save and quit from Wild and a hard reset, which will take him right back to the ship on the surface of planet Zebes. And so this is one of the ways. Oh no, he is not saving and quitting. What is Wild doing? Or he's not hard resetting. Where is he going? Oh, he wants to go do the flippers checks, I guess. I was sure that was going to be a hard reset to get back over to Super Metroid.
He's walking there.
Oh, he wanted to go to Parlor. Interesting. I felt like this was probably time neutral, but I trust Wild and Alu to know very, very well. Absolutely, they and Team Farts have earned their places in this final by being some of the absolute best teams in this game.
Yeah, all four of our runners today extremely well vested in both games. These guys know exactly what they're doing, so honestly, we can trust in their wisdom there of which location to go. And commentary curse or not, they'll definitely know what's in their best interest. So.
Yeah, now I'm just thinking, should I have been going to the fortune teller's hut more often rather than hard resetting?
I mean, you have an argument to go to Gauntlet there, but again, that's the choice he's making. And I think it could also be because they don't have the Pearl yet, and it might be a Force Super Metroid, so maybe he's just trying to split up Bryn Loop a little bit better here.
Yeah, it gives him a cleaner way to get to the 230 missile location and Bomb Torizo, whereas otherwise he would have to leave them until the Blue Bryn check. And so it'll be interesting to see how he chooses to route Super Metroid. Clearly through Gauntlet, kind of taking a peek back to the Terminator item and then headed down into green and pink Brinstar is going to be the default play. But we'll see where it goes based on what items they find.
What I would like to see right now, just because we do have Ivan and Wild essentially going to the same area, is one of our runners breaking the mountain right now. Because with Morph in access, Death Mountain right now, for the most part, is in access because it would allow you to have the Morph Ball take you all the way down to a Norfair Warp. That would take you to the Death Mountain Uncle area.
Yeah, the Death Mountain area is 100% in logic right now, in contrast to a Link to the Past randomizer. So for anyone new to crossover randomizer, there are 4 portals between the two games. We've seen, in back of Gauntlet having Bombos and Grappling Beam, both useful for Wild, or potentially useful. But there are 4 portals. We saw the one, Fortune Teller to Parlor, so Fortune Teller's house by Link's house, to Parlor in Super Metroid in the Crateria area. There's also one in Upper Norfair to Business Center from Death Mountain, the back door of the Old Man Cave. Then there are 2 other ones, one to the Misery Mire area from Lower Norfair, the Gold Torizo Energy Refill. And then the final one is the Meridia Missile Recharge Station, seldom seen, will take you over to the Dark World Shopping Mall area, the Dark Ice Rod Cave area. And so that's how the 4 ways the runners are going to move between the game, in addition to being able to hard reset back to Super Metroid.
Right, and speaking of that Death Mountain play earlier, we just found the hook shot at Terminator E-Tank. That's a great item to get early on.
Yeah, that is a massive find, and that makes me want to break Death Mountain very aggressively. Or at least get someone into Super Metroid to grab it and then rush back over, which is what we might see Alu do, and go down Red Tower instead of doing Bryn Loop. And I like that play a lot. Looks like he is going through Gauntlet to get that grappling beam and that Bombos, and I would not be shocked to see him head back the whole way up through Terminator and go right down Red Tower to get over to Death Mountain. Meanwhile, Andy is breaking Death Mountain, and we'll see if he goes into Upper Norfair around this swirl.
I think it would be fair to assume this is a similar play we're going to see Alucard actually take in the path what Andy is doing right now once he gets his hookshot, because he did get the early knowledge before Andy hit up the mountain, so he might actually do the same, dip in and check out some of the past locations.
I think what Wild just found might be a game changer, though. Down there at Edicoon's, behind the Oops Pit, or whatever it is that we want to call it, there was a Moon Pearl. And nice. Alu is setting himself up to not get his grappling beam. That's an interesting pass by Alu. Not sure that I can't believe that was intentional. But I think we're going to see him rush for his Moon Pearl here instead of going down Red Tower.
Well, right now, the only thing in Logic that grappling hook does unlock for our runners is the X-ray chamber. So if that's nothing, then that's a big dodge for them right now. But if it is something, Alu will have to reroute that in, or hope for something such as space jump to get him through.
Yeah, because we're in normal Logic, though, that grappling beam could be pointing at something over in Wrecked Ship as well.
Absolutely could.
So Alu fully capable of getting into Wrecked Ship without that grappling beam, but that grappling beam is what puts it in Logic. And for the question in chat, gloves are at the hobo, so that is the one thing that is keeping Wildcard from kind of rushing immediately over for Dark World access. We'll see how fast Team Farts finds their way into the Dark World. Hammer and Glove, once they find that Moon Pearl, it's game on.
Just to answer a quick question in chat, yes, Super Metroid is full item rando right now. So there's a couple of randomizers out in the Super Metroid community. Most are probably familiar with how the tournament logic worked, where majors were shuffled with major items and minors were with minors. In this one, it's actually a full item randomizer, so basically items can be anywhere, and it really does play well to how this combo works.
Yeah, I was very, very impressed with how well balanced this combo randomizer is, and it looks like Alu is heading back out. We'll see what he does now that he has his Moon Pearl. And Mirror down here at Charge Beam, I think, might influence his decision. Man, Wild keeps finding the goods here in Pink Brinstar.
Yeah, really just making quick work with Bryn Loop 2. Really nice execution from Wild. Ivan actually equally impressive too. He's right on his heels. Andy did elect to check out East Death Mountain here, so we are in the Paradox Cave. We are going to get a check 7 items plus Spiral Cave right now, and you can actually dip into Hera now with the Hammer in tow as well. So we'll look for that to happen. And Wild at this meantime is actually going back to Retro Bryn to finish clearing that out.
Yeah, and this might be a precursor to a trip over into Wrecked Ship for Wild. That being in Logic because of that grapple beam, I wouldn't be surprised to see them make that play. But they do not know about the Hobo Glove. That is the big advantage that Team Farts has right now. that is Dark World access. And so if Team Farts gets over into Dark World and starts finding pieces, we're just going to have to watch and see when Wildcard finds their way back to Hobo, especially if the second glove is behind that first one.
Right, and in a game such as this one with 2 games and 2 sets of items to find, it's not as debilitating as one may think if there is a miss like that glove, just because there's a lot of ground to catch up. I mean, they can find a lot of good items in Metroid that can actually lead them to another glove, for example, that they can get that Dark World access for. So a lot of possibilities to be had here.
That's absolutely true. Although the counterpoint to that is because there are so many locations, as things open up and branch, it becomes harder and harder to get back to some of those one-offs that you may have missed, like Hobo. Although if they find Dark World access, it becomes really easy for them to mirror into that glove on their way to Pod. So if the other glove is in front of the first one, that probably works out for Wildcard. Whereas if the second glove is behind the first, I think that's a good advantage for Team Farts right now.
Absolutely agreed. I did want to just take the time to point out real quick that for the Link to the Past randomizer side, it is still running on version 29, so the older logic that was just replaced by V30. Reason why I want to make a note of that is just because we're going to see a lot of hint tiles that our runners are not checking out. That is why that functionality was added in V30. These runners will not have that luxury of getting hints of where particular items may be, or useless hints as well.
And Andy taking the 2-screen drop here. Oh nope, he's not going to take the second screen. He is not in for that. He wants to not do that bomb jump.
That was great.
I got jebaited by him failing that bomb jump. It was all part of the plan. We'll see what High Jump Boots has today, and Ivan is going to go ahead and check the Climb Supers item. Cape there at High Jump Boots D Tank, and Alu is fighting Kraid. And getting the 100 HP stand-up. One more missile to finish Kraid, but it's RNG how long he's going to take to open his mouth. But pretty fast cycle. Yeah, we do see Wild is headed for Wrecked Ship. Not a shocker based on how he was routing that and what he was finding.
And we do see a Master Sword from Kraid as well, so that's a pretty good find for Team Wildcard early on.
I'm a little wary of that though, because the Master Sword and then the cape that we saw at High Jump might be pushing Wildcard to Aghanim. I think with flippers they'll probably see Hobo first, especially because of not having checked Zora yet, but there's a potential Aghanim trap coming.
I guess it all rests on the ideal of how aggressive they really want to push the seed. There's definitely the softer play of just checking the remaining locations if they don't run into another glove soon. Or if they just decide, you know what, we got Dark World access, we got flippers and hookshot, we have the majority of Dark World that we can explore early on, let's push it now. So it's just going to come down to a decision in the next couple of minutes from them.
Yeah, I mean, flips, hookshot, hammer, no glove, swords, lamp. Oh, lamp yet. Lamp is keeping them out. So if they find lamp, that's the trap. Okay. So yeah, lamp is what we gotta wait on that. So that was my bad.
That's okay, because there's also the option for them to break that as well with perhaps just using the fire rod to light up the dark torches for Aghanim. But yes, they will know that is not in logic if they do not have that lamp yet.
Yeah, that would be a pretty aggressive break. I think that Lamp not showing up is better for Wildcard right now, especially because they do have that other fire source in the Fire Rod.
Yeah, it's literally their savior. I mean, if they find it here in Wreck Ship, I don't know what to say, honestly. It's just bad news bears, but yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's a bad break on items. Nice Doppler there from Wild.
That was
a really clean
sick
one.
Doppler. Really good timings as well.
Nice air Doppler and finishing with a clutch 2-round. Nice Phantoon fight. We'll see if Ivan can match.
Yeah, the swag is real with Wild today. It's great.
That's the thing I enjoy most about Super Metroid movement, honestly, is there's so many cool little things you can do. You have such nice control over Samus. And so
did you just see Andy do the wall jump in the pit there leading the speeder? Yep. That was great.
Yep, it saves that crumble block or the bomb block respawn time. It's just little optimizations to save a second here or there that just look super sweet. Book of Medora, so far in Wreck Ship. That's another road to go down.
Alright, so Ivan was showing us his the enraged strats on Phantoon there. Unfortunately, hit him with the super missile and caused him to have a fit and go through, I think it's about 7 cycles of blue flame waves at Samus there. But luckily, he does have super attack to kind of make it safe.
Yeah, and while getting his sponge bath bomb jump, another not strictly swag strat, but just another strat that is helpful. And Ivan, yeah, getting a little hung up here on Phantoon. Phantoon giving him some bad eye close RNG and just not behaving.
Yeah, it's not just the eye closes either. It could be the blue flames too. Like if they just bounce the wrong way on you, it can be really tough to recover.
But made it through. Phantoon is dead, and he will be able to go get his Book of Medora and his magic powder. Man, what is this fetch quest ship? We'll see if Alu is able to beat the bomb jump here, if he decides to go for it, and get more information about what's going on in Tower Hera. You see Andy is headed down into Brinstar, just gonna pick up some of those things that Ivan was first to, and going for the missiles instead of the mock ball. Not what was intended, but he's going to be able to reset the room and go back through.
Oh, do you see what's in that big chest there in Hera?
I did not. What was it there?
It appeared to me that was the silver arrows.
Oh boy. Without the bow, not the most exciting find, but definitely one that will be useful downstream, because the runners will have to find the bow in order to complete A Link to the Past.
I think it's one that Team Farts will run into, but it honestly depends on if they hit up Hera before go mode. Because if they had hit go mode before going back to Hera, they're definitely just going to skip it.
Absolutely. And nice Moldgorm fight there. Alu managing his pokes and slashes and spins in order to make sure that he did not enrage Moldgorm. Getting his small key. And the speed booster locked item in Wreck Ship, just a full heart container. So that's got to feel good for WildAnaconda. Since they cannot get that item, they were going into Wreck Ship knowing that they might need to come back. And finding out that it is just an optional item. Got to be a nice break. Ivan will be finding that out soon enough as well. Trying to skip the worker robots can be a little tough because you have to abuse iframes to do it, and Screw Attack cancels your iframes, so instead just choosing to blast his way through. Meanwhile, WildAnaconda is riding the trippers to the ceiling item here. We'll see what it is. Just an E-tank. So yeah, we just have gravity left, and otherwise all we really got from Wrecked Ship other than convenience was that that Book of Medora and that magic powder. So we'll see if Wild gets sent over to chase those things, so that Alucard would know whether or not he needs to go to Wrecked Ship. I think that would be a good play here.
Alright, Alu did get the blue cane in her basement, by the way, in the Firelocks section of the dungeon.
Yeah, which, because Cape was available at high jump boots, isn't going to unlock anything, but could be a useful item. I doubt that's something that we will see WildAnaconda invest the time to go get. And the moment of truth here for what these last couple items are going to be in Wrecked Ship. We have one item down here in this Chozo statue, and then the gravity suit location. And just a blue rupee, so one more chance for Wrecked Ship to be absolutely worthwhile.
We get half magic in Spiral Cave there, and super missiles in gravities. That's a miss.
Yeah, upper Wrecked Ship. Sorry, go ahead.
We did get some fetch quests there, though, in the powder and the Book Medora, so it'll be interesting to see how they route this. Honestly, they need to find that glove fast to be able to continue to route clean.
Yeah, that is going to be absolutely key to progression at this point, because, I mean, we know that Dark World is available for Team Farts. And, I mean, it's available for Team Wildcard as well, they just don't know it yet. I'd be shocked if we don't see a Dark World play from Farts here in the next probably 5 minutes.
I actually think Andy's heading there right now by dodging Wrecked Ship right now.
Yeah, with Wrecked Ship not bearing anything that's absolutely required, book and powder possibly required, I think we're going to see Andy take this portal here in Parlor and then go right for Hype Cave.
Alright, Alu, what are you going to do with this?
Looks like we might be headed for Agina? Well, looks like he's going for the dam. Which I thought we had seen. But maybe the money there, and if there's a 300 down here, that could be setting up that Zora play, actually. But Dark World map looks like a 5-6 crystal at Swamp and a red pendant there at Mire. And I missed the other pendant, unfortunately. But let's see how Hype Cave is today. And that's a big nope.
Yeah, that's a no thank you, sir. I can do without that. So just the green bottle and the shield there.
Yeah, and that green bottle, a lot less exciting because they did already have that bee in a bottle. Although, that green bottle is showing up right on time if Andy was going to take a right turn and head over to Pod. So he is still sticking to his guns and heading left.
Interesting to note, Andy not riding in the spring ball there on Hiley Island. Does have the mirror flips. Oh, we do see the Titans from the friendly stump guy there. So I guess much better play.
Yeah, and that's gonna let him continue this play up into Village of Outcasts. So that's huge. Also, that means that unless they go through Aghanim, that second glove is going to be behind that first glove. Actually, not necessarily. They could find Gravity Suit and go through, or Gravity Suit and Speed Booster and go through Meridia, I suppose.
Well, that's fine, because Alu just found the glove, so now they're saved.
That can't feel great, but at least they didn't go through Aghanim.
So we'll look for Alu to kind of round out the Zora and the Flipper Lock locations. He has the rupees. He went through the time to get them for Zora. Kind of just go on through there, and then I can see him just square going right to Dark World here. Meanwhile, Alu is rounding up the Super Metroid checks here. I believe they're teamed to check out Crave, but he does want to get it out of the way as soon as he can.
Yeah, when you're in this part of the map, because of the structure of the game, this is actually one of the most out-of-the-way boss locations. And so runners, when they get a chance, just want to knock out Kraid, get it over with. And we see Andy is going to show us what's in that Smith sequence, being really thorough here in his initial Dark World loop, which is generally a good call.
That was close. Ivan had to be really careful there. He's actually at 37 energy. We don't know what was in his reserve. That could have been fatal. So he just squeezed through there.
Yeah, that one got a little close for comfort. Those spikes dealing 60 a hit. But Gravity Suit for Andy. Okay, so now we know that that glove was key. The Hobo glove was the key progression to Dark World.
So what does Gravity Suit open up there, Maniacal?
So Gravity Suit opens up a lot of Meridia, and Meridia mostly full of water, and so was out of logic until just now. And there's 18 item locations up in Meridia, one of which I know you are a particular fan of because they have Grappling Beam. They could go visit Shacktool.
Well, let's not go there. I do want to point out, though, speaking of Gravity, it actually did unlock another location that Team Wildcard actually visited, and that was the powder at Wreck Ship E-Tank. So that is now in logic on Team Fart's side. So it is good that they have it. It's just dependent on when they kind of cash that in and see what it is. It could be a nice little edge for them.
Yeah, that is a very good point, actually. That Sponge Bath Bomb Jump that we saw on Wild Anaconda's side, or on his screen, not something that's in logic, but one of those many sequence breaks available to runners who are comfortable with them in Super Metroid.
Right.
Nice quick kill there from Ivan, making up for the Phantoon slow kill from earlier, saving a little bit of time getting his Master Sword.
Looks like Andy's going to go ahead and get his revenge here on Hera, so he will be running into those silvers as well.
Yeah, and this was something that, I mean, Team Farts has to do. They have to get the crystal out of here, both players, and so getting this information sooner than later gonna be useful. We see Alu is now into the Dark World, and he is heading straight for Swamp Palace. So, how do you feel about this? Personally,
it's a pretty aggressive play right now with a lot of Dark World open. It is a crystal. It's a Fat Fairy crystal. I think that's what they're more thinking towards, just because he already does have Hera, which is the other 5/6 crystal there. So I think that's what his mindset is.
I love it.
Yeah,
I think it's great. It's 6 items, unlocks 2 more at the pyramid. They got so Swamp has a ton of dependencies. You need the moon pearl, you need the mirror, the flippers, the hook shot, the hammer, some way to deal damage to Argus. Like you need a lot before you can do Swamp, and the game gave it all to them pretty early. And so they might be getting that read that, hey, the game's telling us to go to Swamp, and it's also a 5/6 crystal, like Fat Fairy might be a thing.
Right. I'm also looking at it more at the whole set of the 2v2 team, how they communicate, how they act. The goal of the game is, as you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, not to get fourth. So the first team for both team members to complete the game will be victorious here. So right now, it almost seems like they're trying to get Alu on a little bit of a longer check, such as Swamp walking through, just to kind of balance out while going through almost all of Super Metroid right now. So again, I must agree, I really do like this one. Very strong decision.
Yeah, it didn't even register on my radar when Andy blew by it that was a decision that Farts was making. But you know, I think I'm on the side of digging the Swamp play, but I'm also less averse to Swamp than a lot of players. We'll see if it pays off. We're about to get our second key check. The first check here in Swamp, just the single arrow, so as excited as chat might get about single arrows, it's not a useful item. And we're gonna delay the value on that chest a little bit longer by getting the big key, but it leads only to the compass. So far Swamp is a bust,
yeah,
but there are 5 items left.
Another good call here. He had 2 dungeon items, he's going straight left, not messing around.
Yeah, that's 100% the correct call. I mean, he was going to full clear this, and he's guaranteed to have an item, and they're missing enough items from Go Mode that even in the crazy scenario where all of the rest of Swamp in the back is value, there would still be the potential for something to be over here.
Alright, so on Team Fart side here, Ivan's going to be picking up his glove as well. Looks like he'll be kind of on that road. I would imagine going to get his Titans shortly thereafter. Andy has those Titan mids in tow. He's going to peek, see what TR's medallion is, and he's going to go Dark World Death Mountain.
Yeah, and that's a really nice thing that you get the information about Turtle Rock. Ether Medallion gonna unlock Turtle Rock, so that is another item that will be required for the runners to find. You get that information early, plus you can get these checks out of the way here at Super Bunny and at Hookshot Cave, able to access everything with the Hookshot, the Mitts, and the Moon Pearl.
Yep, so right now they're going to have 6 items here, 2 at Super Bunny Cave, 4 in Hookshot Cave. They also could elect to check out Spike Cave here as well if they just want to go to the west side of Dark World Death Mountain, mirror back out, or they can just drop down.
Yeah, there's a lot of available routing decisions open. And that's one of the cool things about this combo randomizer, by the way the game is kind of interwoven between the 2 games with the cross-game portals. A lot of the game tends to open up very non-linearly in the middle of these seeds. And so you'll have runners finding some out-of-the-way things like what we just saw on Andy's screen with that Varia suit.
That's a big find.
That is a massive find. That unlocks the rest of Super Metroid, excepting maybe 1 or 2 things. I'm trying to think. They have everything in Meridia through the back door. Is there anything in Super Metroid that is not in Logic right now?
Lower Norfair, they do need Camfly. Camfly defined as an item that can get them essentially heights such as space jump or bombs.
Yes.
But other than that, right now they're pretty set.
Yeah, so they would need Canfly or Speed Booster plus Flute to be able to get there through the back doorway. I think Speed Booster for that Shine Spark up from Screw Attack is an available route in normal. Although, I'm not 100% certain because it is a little bit of a short charge. But there's that Ether Medallion for Turtle Rock in Spike Cave. Wow. So yeah, Andy finding all the goods here on Dark Death Mountain.
By the way, true to his word, WildAnaconda did collect his favorite item, Spring Ball. You got it.
I strongly would have, been upset by him skipping Spring Ball. It would have hurt me viscerally, and I'm sure it would have hurt him even more. So
and
I know he's elated.
Really, yeah, the item is actually quite substantial right now. There's movement tech in Super Metroid called the Spring Ball Jump. And what we were just talking about with Lower Norfair, we can actually kind of gate or negate the requirement of Can't Fly by performing Spring Ball jumps throughout Lower Norfair to get around it. So it's a good play to kind of pick it up this early because you don't know when you're going to run into something like high jump or bombs or space jump at this point.
Yeah, at this point, runners as skilled as the 4 runners we have here have to be thinking not only what's in logic, but what is the minimum set of items required for us to be able to comfortably finish this seed. And with both suits in play, the runners are going to be looking not only for logical access, but just any access to those final locations. We'll see what Argus has here for Alucard. So far, Swamp seeming to have been mostly a bust, though.
And Quickfish, the same thing there on the bottom right side on Ivan's screen. The exact same item drop, the red ruby.
And Ivan is making that Zora play for Team Farts. But with both suits at this point, Super Metroid is Andy's oyster, so we're seeing him do that upper Norfair check, and it looks like he is going to head up and be the first into Meridia as well.
How many items in Meridia again?
I believe it's 18. So it's kind of an enormous pendant dungeon in the front, and then there's 3 in the back that are more of the crystal dungeon analog in the area where you would go fight Dragon. But here we go, all the possibility for this big bomb. We're gonna see Alu trying to do a bomb dupe here. No? He's gonna pass on the bomb dupe.
Big find there in Meridia right now. We do see a speed-locked red cane at Meridia speed in the main street.
Yeah, and that means that Speed Booster will be required, at least logically.
I mean, I'm not sure of a way to sequence break. I'm not sure if you're familiar with one.
I'm not sure if there's a way to trick the game, but I don't think there are any allowed glitches to get you there. So Speed Booster's required.
And speaking of good items, there we have a high jump boot on the Mama Turtle pedestal.
Unfortunately, that is behind that grappling beam that Andy does not presently have that's in the back of Gauntlet.
He could grab it with a wall jump too, but it's really, really tight. Like it's super tight to get that.
I don't think you can get it with the wall jump without high jump boots already. I think you can get it with the wall jump with high jump boots.
I think it's CWJ to get it. That's why it's like really, really tight.
Yeah, which for anyone who's not familiar, CWJ is continuous wall jump, the idea of jumping in one direction and clipping the corner of a block in just such a way to get that wall check frame that Samus uses in order to say, yes, I can wall jump now, and then to perform another wall jump while moving in that same direction to continue your forward momentum. A trick that is absolutely not in logic, but we might see it show up. But Ivan getting his gravity suit. And I think that we're going to see Ivan chase, because Andy has just been finding all of the goods. And Ivan just has some catching up to do at this point. And we're seeing some new content here from Wild, getting this Skull Woods check. Not something we've seen on any screen thus far, so 2 items here in Skull Woods.
Yep, and
Definitely
a
some
crystal
potential
dungeon as well. Solid play.
Yeah. Anytime you're clearing a new crystal dungeon for your team where it's fully in logic and, you know, you can just knock that off, that's generally a good play. And we did find that lamp there in the Sea House in Village of Outcasts, so that is going to mean that Aghanim was never going to be in logic. So that means that Team Farts will know that Team Wildcard had to find that hobo glove, unless they decide to sequence break Aghanim.
Yep, the lamp here, a little bit of an interesting tool just for the Link to the Past side of the rando. Now opens up dark rooms in logic. Dark rooms that come to mind, Vitreous item at Mire, T-Rock, Maze, and Laser Bridge, Tranix, and Pod right now. Pretty much half a Pod, the Dark Maze, the Dark Review Room, and Helma himself.
Yeah, although I don't think that we'll be seeing rushes to those plays, but being able to get them into logic is absolutely critical. Andy having a little bit of trouble with the mummy statue room here, but doing the proper dance, tugging the statue around those Gibdos, and makes it through. He is also going to find his map here in Skullwoods.
So I guess the early question right now is where's speed? Because we do know where the red cane is. It's going to be a critical item. We do need it to complete TR. Where is this going to be?
Where is speed? So Speed Booster is one of those awkward items that can show up pretty much anywhere. It's probably somewhere hiding in A Link to the Past, just given the pure volume of items, but where could it be? I'm leaning Ice Palace.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be in a really, really awkward place, this seed. It could be, like, Lower Norfair, could be... God. You said that, I mean, it's a tough one. Maybe even Pendant Mire at this point. That would be a little... Gosh.
Yeah, that would be
a little disgusting, though.
Pretty extra there. Don't want Pendant Mire. We want to stay away from that one.
Again, it's just really, it's kind of like the Ice Rod in this sense. It's a really, really awkward item to chase, because not a lot of things in Super Metroid gate the requirement of the item, and where it could really generate, so.
Yeah, it can be in all but maybe 4 or 5 spots at most. There's really not that much behind speed, and everything that is behind speed, excepting Waterway, you can check via other means and get that knowledge of, okay, now I know I have to go find Speed Booster. Which, because it's a good mobility item, runners are going to be, you know, not sad to see it, but when you're stuck on a chase for Speed Booster, it's one of the worst feelings. And looks like we are getting a pedestal check from Wild Anaconda, so get your ped hypes in the chat. Let's see. So yeah, just a missile pack, a flying bomb indeed. So, rip pedestal, but it was good to get that information there.
A little bit of fun that the developers kind of put into this. They kind of wanted to go with the mindset of having passable Link to the Past hints for Super Metroid items. So of course, Link's going to perceive it as a flying bomb, but we all know and love it as missiles.
Yeah, some of them, a lot like some of the A Link to the Past hints, require a little bit of knowledge to decipher. Not always the most obvious, but you know, they do map in a pretty straightforward way, so it's not too bad. But that flying bomb does mean there's a missile expansion on pedestal. If the runners were to go get all 3 pendants, they could get +5 missiles, but I sincerely doubt we will see that come to pass.
So it's also interesting to note right now is that even though we've had a lot of divergence early on, we're kind of seeing both teams really kind of routing almost the same again, splitting up Skull and Thieves.
Yeah, The big difference being Team Farts has knowledge of both of those suits, whereas Team Wildcard does not yet have any suits. So the extra Super Metroid stuff, namely the sort of upper Norfair, lower Norfair checks and Meridia checks that Farts is able to do, the big difference. But right now, because of that lack of speed booster / high jump boots, Team Farts can't push over into the other part of upper Norfair past sort of past the way to Bubble Mountain.
That powder coming up huge there. That was the plasma beam on the path. That's gonna save Team Wildcard quite a bit of time in a various amount of locations in Super Metroid. Predominantly, if they so choose to kill Botwoon and also Dragon, which is required, will be a very, very tidy fight for them.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about it, and I want the key to progression in this seed to be that grappling beam that we saw Alucard skip in the back of Gauntlet and that we know Andy does not yet have. I think he might be going for it right now.
I think so,
to get high jump boots, to get over to Bubble Mountain. I think that is very likely to be the play sequence Andy's pursuing right now.
I was actually a bit surprised Andy didn't choose to kind of sequence break Meridia while he was there, just because they know where grapple is, so they knew they wouldn't have to be worrying about trying to break too far in advance of the logic. But you know what, you really do want those high jump boots. They are going to speed you up quite significantly in a lot of the vertical platforming in Super Metroid.
And actually, something that just occurred to me about those high jump boots and this grappling beam, and Bombos Medallion for that matter, is that because this is normal logic, this is still out of logic for the runners. So if Andy breaks to Bubble Mountain, anything that he finds there is not yet in logic, and there's going to be some other way, whether it be Ice Beam or Space Jump or Speed Booster, to get through that way. Because those wall jumps that we saw up to Gauntlet, those are not an expected maneuver here for normal logic.
That's actually a really good read. I didn't even actually pick up on that.
Yeah, so if Andy goes to Bubble Mountain, which I expect him to do, this is out of logic. And anything behind Bombos Medallion's out of logic, and we need to put that back together at some point. And so I'm excited to see how this seed comes back together. But looks like he is headed back into A Link to the Past. We'll see, because sometimes A Link to the Past is just the easiest way to get between places. Yeah, he's just going to go, I think, to Upper Norfair and go via... No? Not go.
I think I know where he's... No, I was going to say, I think I know where he's going. Point out, too, just to counter the point, I do believe... Right now, Dragon's actually in logic if they take the Meridia Warp.
Oh yeah, Dragon is 100% in logic right now.
So they actually could explore quite a bit of Meridia right now if they wanted to. Snow climbing? No, not really. Sand pits, post Botwoon, Meridia area at Dragon, I believe is right now.
So the gravity jump is not in logic though. Although with grappling beam, that puts a lot of Meridia in logic in a more intended way. Although I think we will see Andy use some gravity jumps to get through Mount Everest with his current gear set, if he decides to dive the front of Meridia, because that is in logic, whereas the Upper Norfair play behind that Varia suit is not in logic. But that's such a subtle thing, that the grappling beam being behind Gauntlet, that it might be something that a team would miss. I think in the fury of playing one of these seeds, that I would have probably missed that as a runner.
Yeah.
Although with Andy just now having gone for his grappling beam, that might make him more acutely aware of that. We'll see what he does. And he's having a little bit of trouble. I think
Yeah,
without high jump, he might need a crouch jump.
Yep.
We'll see if Andy's able to use his grappling beam to... Oh, not quite. He is going to get those high jump boots eventually. And Wildcard is about to find their Titan's mitts. Or, sorry, Wild already found those. And Alu's about to get his Titan's mitts for Wildcard, rather.
Andy going for a little bit of a ride here.
Yeah, grappling beam is a well-coded mechanic.
Andy, please.
We'll see if he goes up or down. I think we'll probably see this Meridia check since he's over this way, but yeah, he's going to have to do a gravity jump here. Or not have to, but probably do a gravity jump here. Yeah, he's setting up for it. So, debated, man. What? Okay, here it is. So he's pausing and jumping just as the screen fades out to get a fast movement velocity and then unequipping gravity suit to give himself the weird acceleration that you have when you're doing underwater without gravity suit, to abuse the Super Metroid physics engine to get some extra jump height here, so he doesn't have to grapple across this room. But nicely done, and we are going to see some new Meridia content here from Andy, and we're going to see the in-logic part of Meridia here from Wild. This is a higher value set of locations just because of them being higher probability to be progression just because of being in logic right now, but a smaller total volume of locations. 3 locations accessible for Wild going this way.
Also
plus whatever he can drop down to.
Yeah, and just picking up on what Wild just executed, he just equipped his plasma beam. So kind of an off mechanic in the combo randomizer is that if you find either Spazer or Plasma outside the game, it'll actually not automatically equip the game. What would occur is I would kind of equip both or neither and kind of get into this death beam state that could actually crash the ROM. So as a safeguard to prevent that, they basically make you equip the beam. So
yeah, but I know what chat's going to be most excited about equipping that plasma beam is that Wild has charge X-ray and plasma, and so we are about to see some microwave Dragon. So we'll see him crouch, and so this is related to the grapple kill of Dragon and soft lock prevention, but the game will force Wild into a standing animation when Dragon receives lethal damage. So he's going to be watching for Samus to stand up as he's buffering his X-ray to obviate the iframes that Dragon would have, and not getting it in one cycle, but getting it pretty quickly on the second cycle. Almost. And where were Morph Bombs?
I didn't even know we got them.
Wild has Morph Bombs, and that is that can fly access. So that puts a ton of stuff in logic now.
That's why he's committing to Dragon, yeah. So we had a lot of action going on there, actually. We actually had Andy sequence breaking with the snail climb at Aqueduct speed there. Saw the 2 items as reserve bombs. We had Alu grab his Varia, and we also had Ivan grab his Ether as well that Andy would have directed him to. But Team Wildcard actually going to get their Ether now as well with clean running. And
chat saying that the Morph Bombs were in Precious Room, and what are those for?
Andy is so happy right now.
Andy has found his shoes.
There they are. We got the boots.
With high jump boots, it's a little hard to get this morph. I don't know. He's gonna have to struggle. He's gonna struggle boss his way over, but he'll get there.
I can't tell if he's crouch morphing because he's trying to jump morph, or if he's just giddy right now.
I'll think that it was a celebration, because Andy, for anyone not super familiar with him, I don't know why you wouldn't be by this point, but a prolific hoverer in A Link to the Past, which abuses the dash mechanics in such a way to make Link float over holes that he otherwise wouldn't be able to pass. Now, granted, we've got the hook shot, so that kind of reduces the utility of that as a sequence break in a lot of places, but still something we'll probably see Andy choose to enjoy for the rest of the run.
Wild also trying to go for this snail climb here. Going to go for the second attempt. The snail kind of goes around both ways, so he's going to try and get him on the second pass here to get the proper jump height, and he does get it here. And also, Wild not having high jump, I think it's a little bit of a different step, just minuscule, but he did hit it there.
Yeah, that snail clip looks very impressive and very scary or intimidating as a runner, but realistically, once that snail is in the right position, you can just clip right through. Something that's not in logic, again, but something that, because the runners just want to have the most efficient route through the game, they're going to take advantage of that available skill.
Exactly, and it's going back to that early example we had in this race with Andy checking out the dark cross in the sewer. I mean, in logic, they couldn't check it, or there wouldn't be progression there leading them in the early game, but they wanted to check it early just because they were there and they don't want to route it back.
Exactly, just efficiently getting through all the items as a team.
Look what Wild's trying to set up here. I think he gets it first try.
Wow, what a guy. Nicely done there.
Incredibly difficult trick, by the way. Set up a little bit of a wall jump there with the suit change, basically a grav jump to negate the need for speed jump to get through the pinhole kind of positioning there, and to get to his favorite thing, my least favorite thing. I'm not even gonna say his name. You can say it.
It's my favorite digging game. It's Shack Tool on Wild Anaconda's screen, and I think Andy's also headed for Shack Tool. But in the meantime, while Shack Tool's digging, and we see kind of repeated content on all other screens, would you say that either team has a lead at this point? I saw a question in chat about asking for where the lead was, and at this point, I think it's too hard to call.
Yeah,
I think
there's no call.
Yeah, I mean, Variasuit is big, and just a big 20 at Shack Tool, so Alucard will not be getting to visit Shack Tool. That is the privilege Wild had this race.
Well, I mean, it's big, but they know where it is because Wild does have, or Alu does have it, sorry, on Team Wildcard Start. It's really, really, really tough right now to kind of see who's winning. I'd say they're pretty much even, just item count, progression count. They don't really have a big find yet that's going to set them apart.
Yeah, I mean, Ivan's finishing Swamp, and Alu is up Swamp. Alu does need to catch up some Super Metroid bosses, but right now nothing has been found behind Powder or Book yet. So I just don't know. I'd be tempted to say Wildcard just from looking at the progression, because we have seen the items kind of all come back around, but it's very, very close. I mean, these teams are both very, very good, and I think it's going to come down to who finally breaks it, who goes to Bubble Mountain.
So that's where Morph Bombs were. It was at Precious Missiles. So the item location just before Dragon. So that's actually, that is in logic, and that would have made Dre in logic. So that's a really sharp find there. With the can fly there in bombs, it actually did open up the Norfair access in logic. So we'll probably see Wild continue to clear out Metroid here and then proceed down to Norfair.
Yeah, I think Upper Norfair is by far the highest value play that we have remaining. We might see a vanilla speed booster.
I would agree, but we also do have the boot checks that are available for us now. Wasn't sure if Desert was boot locked or not, or if they had both items yet. But they do have King's Doom and Bonk Rocks now available to them in logic as a option.
Yeah, and there's still Ice Palace as well.
Correct. So
there's so many different things available right now that we'll just have to see how teams are choosing to route it. If I'm playing this, I'm tempted to find my way to Upper Norfair sooner than later. Nice double bomb jumps there from Wild.
It was very sick. And we do see Andy doing the grapple trick there, locking the plasma beam to kind of microwave the shrimp, as we call it. So he's using another kind of quick kill tech by using the exposed cannons there with the sharp glass, just to kind of electrocute the shrimp once he grabs you.
Yeah, that is exactly why that stand-up at the end of the Dragon fight is forced for Samus, is there are potential ways to lock yourself if you're doing that grapple kill. And so, I'm glad that we got to see both sort of quick kill strats, and Andy getting a little caught up by that gravity jump, but I think he'll get it this time. And we see Alu on his way into the sand pits. We'll see how Wildcard divides the rest of this Meridia. There's not a lot left for them, though. But Alu he wants his boots. Not even screwing around. He's just got to go get them. Now, with Dragon done, he does have bombs. He could have just bomb jumped this, but it seems like he has forgotten about his bombs. Well, maybe he remembered there on his way out.
You'll vest for this too. Just speaking as a runner of this, it's very easy to forget when you get bombs at like 110 in a 2v2, just because there's a lot of information being passed along. And you're like, oh, I just got bombs, by the way.
Yeah, bombs. Forgetting bombs is like forgetting spring ball. It looks really shameful, but like everyone absolutely does it, and it happens.
Yeah, definitely does.
Yeah, I'd say it happens even more in 2v2, like you were saying, than in solo, because as team, they're communicating in a private Discord call or some private call with one another that basically it's that much more information that each runner needs to process per time. They're taking notes, they're talking, they're communicating routing information, item locations, where to go, where not to go, which chests to skip. And it's really, really easy to be overloaded with that information.
Absolutely, because you're essentially just continuously theory crafting, okay, what's the best, like, and most efficient way we can dissect this seed and give us an edge against our opponents. So that's constantly going through them with the options. The options always are ever changing as they get more items. So it's a very, very difficult task. So, I mean, you're essentially watching the best of the best right now. These are the two best teams as determined by this tournament, and honestly, I would say the two best teams flat right now. They're just great.
Oh yeah, these guys are top competitors in this game. You know, we started with 16 teams in this tournament, and they are the final two that are left at the end of double elimination. And so they've bested 14 other teams on their way here, and they've earned their place in the final. I thought at the start of the tournament that these were the two best teams, and I'm not at all surprised, but darn am I hyped to have this matchup in the finals. And Andy is going to find out about the Big 20 here that Shaq has been guarding very, very diligently. He's not going to be very happy about it, but it will mean that Ivan doesn't need to go there, but he's not resetting, so he is going to head back out. We'll see if Shaq lives or dies. All right, Andy making the right call.
Really disappointed.
Wild is in a fierce battle with a Totori right now. But he's going to go get his high jump boots. This is an interesting way to get there.
An in-logic way to get there, by the way.
Yeah, and he does it very cleanly.
So what else would really open up with the bombs right now? We do know Norfair opened up in the upper portion with the bombs and can't fly. Kind of a niche item, a really kind of an oddball right now for them that's open is actually the ship power bomb. So that location in the top right corner where you start in the game, with the can't fly, the power bomb jump, the morph bomb jump, you can actually get up there and get that item.
Yeah, there's that. There's, like you said, the rest of Upper Norfair, because we do have Wave Beam. Crocomire is in Logic, and so all of Upper Norfair. None of Lower Norfair yet, though. So they can get to Lower Norfair, but it's absolutely not in Logic.
Yeah, at this point, I can definitely see speed either being at that top right ship or like in a Crockermire area for sure.
And we are going to get this play over to the Bubble Mountain area from Wild, or maybe. What you doing, Wild?
I think Alu's like, why are you doing this? You got Varia, dude. Yeah, he's going right to the mountain.
Okay. Oh yeah, he didn't pick up his Varia yet. I think he may have forgotten. That's another thing that happens in these 2v2s, is you think that you have an item because your teammate has it, and the information overload aspect is that you're processing not only what you can do, but what your teammate can do, because you have to account for the sort of the cumulative item set that both of you have found and what's in logic collectively.
Yeah, again, it's just the difficulty's really high too, just because it is a combo randomizer as well, and it's not just one game you're balancing, it's both. So again, it's just really conducive of how top these guys are.
Yeah, I mean, Alucard and WildAnaconda undefeated thus far in this tournament, and those guys particularly have been grinding co-op of this game for longer than any other team that I know of, I think, and you know, they've really been enjoying co-op. Wild has long been a proponent that co-op is kind of the format to play this game as, and I think it's a great co-op game, honestly, because there are so many locations.
Alright, so on Team Wildcard side, we do see Alu kind of making his way through Ice Palace. Nothing really too valuable, I believe, found yet. I haven't noticed. Wild's going to pick up his Varia, and we already had a sneak peek of what he's going to do, spoilers, and that is going to check out the upper North area. Meanwhile, on Team Fart side, they're just going through Meridia here, just getting the remainder of the worth. And it looks like they'll be splitting up from here. I think Andy might be the first to Norfair, and I would be interested to see what Ivan does.
I think that Upper Norfair and Ice Palace are the plays that we're going to see both teams pursue, because I think they're the remaining highest value plays.
Right.
Otherwise, we do have that one-off location top right of ship for the Crateria Power Bombs location, but that's... I mean, I won't say it's nothing, but it's minuscule against the amount of value here in Upper Norfair.
Yeah, I just want to point this out. I'm not sure if Ivan has high jump yet, but he is following suit with Andy in routing here. Can't remember if he's grabbed boots or not yet either, so he might be going for that. But it could lead to Team Farts actually double routing Norfair, which wouldn't be a bad play right now, where one could check out the Crockermire area and the other could check the Upper Norfair, if they were able to get there in time.
Yeah, I mean, they'll both have to go via this way to Bubble Mountain because they don't yet have that speed booster.
Correct.
But I think that if they do double route Norfair, it's predicated on the fact that this is just by far the most item-dense option available. And so we are seeing Andy the first to dive Bubble Mountain. WildAnaconda not going to be too far behind, though, but we will be getting that information first on Andy's screen. And yeah, Ivan is grabbing those boots, as you were saying. Oh, he's going to go around again. Thankfully, this is a lot easier to do to go around again once you have Gravity Suit.
Oh, for sure. Like, the difference between a normal and hard mode. We're not going to go into the differences just to keep it simple here. That's why normal mode is much friendlier. We do see Tempered Sword, too, in Ice Palace in the big chest here. I believe the third item. So, confirmed Ice Palace not worth.
Yeah, that'll be something that I think we will not see WildAnaconda go get.
But hey, it'll be Alu's fourth crystal. Wild, of course, has one crystal, 3 bosses done. So I mean, they're pretty well evened out. Same for Team Farts. They're pretty well balanced as well. 3 bosses, 2 bosses, 2 crystals, 2 crystals.
Yeah, that's something we haven't touched on just yet, and Andy is going to grab that Spacer Beam. Just the amount of work that also not only goes into tracking information, but balancing workload across teammates when one player starts finding items that the other player has not found yet, or when all the progression falls to one player, how to build in catch-up mechanisms for the other player, and just trying to finish as close as possible, because the goal of this team competition is to get your team across the finish line as fast as possible. it only matters when the last player finishes, not when the first one finishes. And so really the teamwork of balancing that workload is another big thing that the players are having to contend with right now, especially as they get closer and closer to go mode.
By the way, I don't know if you see it, but Wild's going down to speed booster awfully fast. And I think Andy's about to find the same item.
Yeah, that is a pretty speedy thing. And so that is also a Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, there it is. And as you alluded to, will unlock Cane of Samaria and a couple more locations in the world. But at this point, what are we still looking for completion of the seed? We do have that speed. It is going to lead to Red Cane, but we are still missing a couple of key items here.
Yeah, we're missing the Cane of Samaria, of course, that we know where it is. But the bow is a big one. And the ever miserable ice rod are kind of the minimum set. That's the minimum set items. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it could be perception bias. I don't know. You guys be the judge of it, but it is literally the worst item to chase for Go mode. The ice rod, just terrible. And that's really just because like speed can be really anywhere in the game world right now. It can even be like a laser bridge in T-Rock, which would just be gross.
Yeah. These seeds coming down to an ice rod hunt is not what anyone really wants, other than, of course, chat. Chat, of course, wants that, because there's a lot of hype in it could be anywhere. I wonder if it's here. But that's a pretty rough way to go, honestly. But yeah, ice rod and bow, and also we don't have a way yet within logic into Lower Norfair, but the runners do have ways into Lower Norfair, so
good catch.
So logically, there's another thing missing.
Right, and just to expand upon that, so what's in logic right now in a normal mode seed for our runners to enter Lower Norfair? So they need two versions of requirements. The first they almost have. They need essentially just space jump. That will give them the vanilla entrance into Lower Norfair, as it won't require a gravity jump in logic to get through there. The second thing that would gate Lower Norfair is, you mentioned earlier, Titans and Flute, because there is another transitional warp in the Misery Mire area. Basically, the cave that's opposite to Mire Shed, very commonly known as in the Link to the Past randomizer.
Yeah, right side Mire Shed is the portal to Lower Norfair, and with speed and bombs, they could do it, but not in logic yet. So we'll see where Lower Norfair access shows up. But I think Ivan might just be saying, screw normal logic. I'm going to Lower Norfair.
I just want to go on record and say this is a really, really strong and good play here, just going for that Lower Norfair. They don't have a lot of locations left in the game world to check. I think they still have ice to kind of peek around. Very aggressive, but this is a strong play here. And it will also open up Misery Mire getting through the warp as well if they sequence break again through the GGG glitch.
Yeah, absolutely. And the information that Ivan gets down here for Team Farts on what he does or doesn't find is going to be influential for where the relevant items could be for Go mode. And, you know, who knows? Maybe the next item in the logic chain is Space Jump, and Bow and Ice Rod are just chilling right down here on the way to Ridley. There's no reason it couldn't be that way.
We see some nice near sync here with Andy and Wild both checking out Crocomire here. That really does speak to Wild's skills, by the way, because Andy did have a little bit of a lead, but Wild, being as proficient as he is in SM, just caught right up.
Yeah, the Stutter 3 short charge that Wild had to use to break those blocks where Andy powerbombed to clear a little more space. That is a non-trivial thing to do, and Wild just made it look free. Also, the so-called best mock ball in the game as Alu gets his Cane of Samaria. So, interesting, Ivan doesn't have his cane yet, and he's doing this play, which means he won't be able to go into Mire.
Very, very intriguing point there, honestly. It could be bad, but it's all really dependent on where the flute is, because of course Mire area might not be in logic or even intended. Flute itself could be in like GT, for all we know right now. So it is a good check. I think it just kind of puts it off a Pendant Mire check that won't really. I don't know. It's hard to say. We're just gonna have to see how this one plays out.
I think we might see him check and just hope that the two items aren't behind the cane, because it only is the Vitreous item that's there. So this might just be a calculated gamble.
Wild actually making the same play. Oh, just missing.
So close.
Shrine.
So close on Lava Spark. Another tight stutter 3-charge and so you know what that means.
Where's the flute?
Exactly. Where is the flute? The flute is our intended access here.
That's a big find there. So that's the traditional methodology and routing in normal mode to get through to Lore Nerfer. They just found it behind, again, that flute locked Mire access. So this is intriguing.
Yeah, when you find Space Jump there, what are you saying to your teammate? Like,
Chase Lore Warfare.
Yeah, this is Chase Lore Warfare, really?
I think so.
I think that increases the value of all the locations in front of it.
I will tend to disagree, just because, I mean, there are some minuscule locations left in Link to the Past, but that can honestly only, like, say if they were to dip TR right now, which looks like Alu's about to do, that could only potentially lead to the flute itself. So by dipping Lore Warfare now, knowing that the Space Jump is here, I think it puts a higher emphasis on Lore Warfare for value.
Yeah, I mean, flute does only get them exactly that one thing, and it also comes with a long Duck Awakening cutscene, so... Meanwhile, did you see what we just found?
Oh, I just caught it on the restream there. Yeah, the bow.
Oh, baby. So... now the flute is gating the bow, which means it can't be behind Bowlocked Pod or Armos Knights or anything like that. But it also means all we need is the Ice Rod.
And while dipping Pod was an available play, now we know it was the absolute correct play, because the bow now being locked here. Flute, of course, can be in Pod, because we didn't touch on that. Is a location we haven't touched yet, but I think that's going to be their game plan here, with Alu splitting up TR, finding the Ice Beam here on left side, and with Alu finding, or sorry, Wild finding the Space Jump.
Yeah, and this is a nice split for Wild and Alu. And a nice time to check Agina as well. Imagine if Agina is something. This guy just gets left for so late in seats, especially when you don't have the flute. We'll see what it's been all along. Just Peebs. And so there's nothing that's keeping Ice Rod from being in Turtle Rock right now. So if that turns out to be the answer in this seed, then that's a big lead for Wildcard. But they are just looking at this point for Ice Rod, and the same is true of Farts, I believe. They just haven't gone to get their Cane of Samaria yet. And Alu getting some suboptimal chomp patterns here. With Greenmail needing to be very careful with his health, using the Cane of Burna there to help him out.
Yeah, very tight sequence here, but if he's patient, like he has been with this, we'll make it through, no problems.
And Desert was boots locked big key on the torch, so those boots in that sand pit, if there's anything behind boots in Desert, or Green Pendant for that matter, going to be required. And Alu was looking to maybe deboost off of something to get rid of his bunny beam, but at 3 hearts, everything in that room would have killed him. We saw him kind of have to hesitate there, looking at those floating skulls.
Okay, so I'll have to ask the question now before any of our runners find it. Now that we're at basically the height of this race, the end game, where is this ice rod going to be?
Well, watch Andy hover here. There it is, using those boots.
My boy.
Every time. But where is that ice rod going to be? I think that ice rod's right here at PB's a shame. Nope.
Got him.
It was not. I was thinking we were going to find Laser Bridge Flute into Lower Norfair Ice Rod, because that's how this seed's been kind of going.
It'd be great if it's like front of pod to get your bow. Logic, that'd be great. And then like at the back is ice rod. I think that'd be worse if it's pendant, but again, we're gonna get outside those hypotheticals and just get to the nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah, although with the race at its height, as you said, I want to remind everyone, if you aren't yet following the runners, go give these guys a follow, show them some love. They're giving us an awesome race. Andy finding his tempered sword. These guys are just some of the absolute best players of this crossover rando that are out there, and are just generally cool dudes and good gamers aside from that. So show them some support.
Cool dude certified. We do see Ivan here going for our first bout of the stream against Ridley here. Ridley, of course, requiring either 30 supers or 20 of full beam. And since neither of our runners, I believe, have full beam, supers give me a little bit more of the effective option here.
Yeah, using the iframes from his screw attack well to move through Ridley's body and then unmorph and get right into firing supers. Nicely managed fight there by Ivan.
Great fight. And to answer my own question earlier, I would really hope it's here at Ridley. It'd be a cool location, but bomb capacity, got him.
I'd take that over the arrow capacity that was there at PB's a shame.
Yeah.
But we still do have all the Lower Norfair exit locations coming up, and Alu is going to give us the potential biggest troll location for Ice Rod here in just a minute with that laser bridge check. 4 chests there.
I think at this point, with not knowing where Flute is, while getting that green pendant and not being able to cash it in, I think I'm going to tend to disagree. I think that green pendant might be the biggest troll here, just because it's going to be a while until we can actually find a way to route it in.
There's the 4th sword.
Yeah. There's the flute. So now full circle in logic now. So the seed essentially wanted us to dip TR to get a flute, now to get a bow. If
Give me this Lower Norfair exit.
That information, I think they're going to beeline right to pod.
Lower Norfair exit, let's go. But yeah, I think we're going to be seeing pod here soon.
Yeah, Alu's thinking about what to do with that. He's going to catch in this flute, and I think then he's going to decide. I think it's... I honestly think it's going to be that, but we'll see. And Andy doing some cleanup here, checking out that top right shift location. Of course, we weren't able to check that earlier with Camfly being not really around at all for the first hour of this seed. So now that they have it, they're able to check out that location.
Yeah, late Camfly seeds, really a weird texture for some of these item locations. A lot like late Speed Booster seeds. You can really end up stranding a lot of stuff in Super Metroid. And so it's good to see them making their way back to kind of knock out some of those checks.
And just to kind of point out, again, playing that whole 2v2 strategy of trying to keep the teammates close, we see on Team Fart side right now, Andy's actually going to a known location that our runners have both experienced in Wreck Ship. So it looks like he's going to want to complete that just so he can kind of catch up a little bit on Ivan here. Great strategy. Yeah,
building in some of these checks that you know don't necessarily go anywhere, but that runners have to do. can be a really good catch-up strategy while one of the runners searches for, you know, the remaining pieces of the puzzle. Just letting one of the runners go and just get stuff done. It's, you know, it's not flashy, but it's absolutely the right play.
Yeah, because if you continue on that pace and you just get kind of further and further apart looking for items, well, when one of the teammates develops a lead, it can be really tough then to kind of get an advantage with like information such as key locations and dungeons to try and catch your partner up.
And we see Alu is making the Meyer play. Or no, he's going straight to grab his bow. I thought we were going to see a Meyer out of Alu, and I was thinking, kind of curious. But this might be that pod play we were talking about. Does have to kill GT to do it, though. And without grapple, he is going to have to farm for some ammo or use charge shots.
Well, I do know of experience from watching Team Wildcard practice a lot. I do know their typical strategy is Alu is more or less the driver of the route, and basically the baseline for Link to the Past. So with Wild finishing Lower Norfair here, not really finding that ice rod that they know is going to be their go, he's probably going to challenge Pod as soon as he can.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. Pod, of course, is a crystal, so it is something that needs to get tackled.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, Andy and Ivan, 4 bosses down for Ivan, but only 2 crystals. And Andy at only 3 crystals, getting his 3rd boss. Pretty balanced, but they have some catching up to do, it seems. I mean, Wild also, though, only 2 bosses, so there's a lot of game left. And we're going to see a nice short charge here from Wild.
I'm wondering here if Alu is just farming his supers for the sake of having him later, or if he's farming them now so he's going to continue on in Lower Norfair.
I think he might be farming them to wait for Wild to get to 1 or 2 more item locations. But I don't think that Wild's going to be there fast enough to make this an effective strategy, so I don't actually know. But Andy is going to grab that Book of Medora. And we'll see if he also goes to grab that powder.
I just want to highlight, too, on the left side, bottom left corner, Ivan will be our first runner here venturing into Pod, so this is going to be exciting.
Yeah, I think this is a high-value play. It's a crystal dungeon, there's 5 items, and all we need is that ice rod. We've tied everything up nicely now, yeah. Although Farts still doesn't know where that flute is.
Honestly, I feel like the only 2 spots that we haven't seen, really, correct me at any point, is the gravity lock location in Brinstar, known as the Waterway, and Pod itself. So really, we're really down in the nitty-gritty now in the seed.
Speed locked for Waterway. Can do it without gravity, and it is in logic for normal logic.
Yep.
But yeah, we've not seen the Waterway check. Nice spring ball strat there by Andy to go and check.
Nice.
And skip powder. Which
nice bow locked Pod, by the way, with a big key being on that left side. They could break it, of course, out of logic with a bottle, utilizing the bottle glitch. But in this instance, they have the bow, not really worth mentioning further.
Yeah, we'll see what's behind that bow. That bow is pretty deep in logic, all the way down at GT in Lower Norfair. So there's good odds on this Pod play. I think that this is pretty much the play. I think we also have Meyer still, but 5 items to 2. Let's see that ice rod show up here for Team Farts. That would be step 1 of getting us this this game 3. Although that said, regardless of which team takes this one down, there will be another match played following this, so don't plan to check out. We'll be here a few more hours for sure. But right now, it is all about where this ice rod is going to show up.
Alright, where is Wild Anaconda going to head to next for Team Wildcard is the next question.
So, Upper Norfair is pretty well cleaned out. Have we seen Ether Tablet yet?
I can't say we have, just on the top of my head.
Well, he's going to Link's house, so we'll see where he heads from here. But I think this might be the pod play.
Is Andy heading to that waterway check now, just via Retrogrin?
I'd be surprised if he doesn't route this over
there.
Into...
Yeah, he's going for it.
Yeah. And Alu is just farming up ammo here before Ridley. Ridley with 4 E-tanks. Absolutely not a free fight.
Right.
But looks like Wild is headed for pod.
So the shovel there in the Harmless Hellway. Wild is deciding now to go to pod. He also does have that green pendant. He will be able to route that in as he comes along here. And
yeah, this green pendant check is huge.
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I did forget about this. Mire is still open as well for ice rod possibilities.
Yeah, so it's Mire, Pod, Waterway was not it, just red mail there from the green pendant, so it's looking a lot like Pod or Mire.
There it is. Dark Maze in Pod, top left chest. Team Farts first and go mode at 141. That is tight, dude. So they have what I'm gonna say a little bit of time to catch up on, but they're gonna fly through the rest of this seed now.
Yeah, they know that there are no additional checks required. And so, yeah, we're just going to see a race to the finish.
And
but Wildcard's not going to be far behind.
Right. Wild hot on the heels, too. He's going to be scoping out Pod right now, and he's going to find that ice rod. And Team Wildcard will go about shortly thereafter. Shy a couple of minutes, but right now, Crystal and Dungeon-wise, it looks like it's going to be really close. It's going to be really close here.
I think this is a plus or minus 3 minutes either way race. This is going to be super tight, and any major mistake on the back end by any runner is going to be decisive.
So just to kind of quickly go over a quick overview of the win conditions of an SMZ3 seed, regardless if it's 1v1 or 2v2, is that the runner will need to complete Link to the Past and Super Metroid exclusively, so both games must be completed. The win conditions, of course, are 7 crystals and defeating Ganon in Link to the Past. And in Super Metroid, all 4 major bosses will have to be completed, and Mother Brain and the escape sequence completed.
Exactly, and for winning in this team competition, both players are going to have to do both of those things.
Yep.
And so for anyone new to Crossover Randomizer, that's the general sort of win condition for Crossover Randomizer, also the win condition for this co-op tournament. But this is a double elimination tournament, this being the grand finals. Wildcard, team of Wild Anaconda and Alucard, are already up 1 game from the previous matchup of these 2 teams in the winner's bracket. And so, if Team Farts should win, there will be a 3rd game required that will immediately follow this one with a short break to decide the winner of the tournament. So, if you want the tournament to continue, be rooting for Team Farts. But even if Team Wildcard takes this one down, then there will be another gameplay that'll be a hard mode exhibition where some of the logic things that Solsky and I have been talking about are going to go out the window, and will have a little bit more freedom in terms of where they want to go logic-wise.
Yeah, I think things would just get wacky. So let's not go into that just now. Just because, like I said,
Oh, yeah.
there's so many different variations in what you can do with a hard mode.
I love
And
hard
as you
mode.
said, it just goes out the window. You know what? I really do like the normal mode a lot more now, just because again, I think it's more cleaner for tournament play. But hard mode, once in a while, is a fun treat to play, I think.
Yeah, both have their merits, and so if you're just thinking about starting out, definitely encouraged to pick up normal mode first. But Wild, finding that extra 5, that blue rupee there on his way, has got his ice rod, and that is go mode for Team Wildcard. So we're officially in the race to the finish part of the race.
And Alu shortly following suit here. Andy does have to pick up the bow here and complete kind of Lower Warfare before he hits up on the sequence as well. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. While Farts did find go mode first, Wildcard had been more even in their item progression, and so I think that that's, you know, an interesting difference between how the teams have played thus far. But you know, it's just all about how you choose to balance these different things. Like here we see Andy is going for checkerboard cave to get his space jump, and just, you know, playing catch up in that sequence.
And as you touched on, it's just how the things played out. I mean, if Ice Rod was in that waterway, then Ivan would be the one playing catch up to Andy. But I think with the team dynamic and with a lot of Link to the Past left for Andy, it plays more to the overall strength of the team if Andy kind of anchors co-moding dungeons, because as you know, extremely prolific NMG runner with a very, very low time on that leaderboard. So if anyone can catch up, it's going to be him in this race.
Yeah, I would say, you know, of all the players on the screen, Andy, probably the best A Link to the Past player on the screen, but all 4 players very, very good. So
yep.
I mean, this is just top tier execution in both games by all players, which is what you expect to be good at this combo randomizer. But just because he's very good at Link to the Past, also, you know, really, really good at Super Metroid. He'll be showing that off here on his way through Lower Warfare. So, you know, I see, chat mentioning that is in fact what is directly in front of him here, and it's an important step for him getting back over to A Link to the Past, where maybe he feels a little more comfortable, but he's not uncomfortable here. And we see Ivan headed to Go Mode Ice Palace. It's just the minimum path to the end of the game. So with all the bosses down, on Super Metroid's side, Ivan has Ice, and then T-Rock into Hera. I think Ivan might be the first runner into Ganon's Tower. He has a very, very clear path toward that finish.
Oh yeah. Wild does, or sorry, not Wild. Alu does have a clean path into TR though, because he has dipped it already. So he just has to race to back over to Laser Ridge, skipping that, and then going to Trinex's lair. It's going to cost him about 2 minutes to get there. So after Pod, he's going to have a very quick Skullwoods here into that. So I think you're right. I think Ivan will be the first in, but it's going to be neck and neck between those two. And then it'll be an interesting matchup between the parallels of Wild and Andy on how well they kind of keep with each other.
Yeah, I think that Ivan has built a substantial lead over Andy at this point, just by virtue of the way the items have fallen. So we'll see. We'll see Ivan get to route out Ganon's Tower and feed Andy all the information he'll need about keys.
Yes. But I also see another interesting dynamic here is that Alu has not dealt with Phantoon yet, and while that will be a go mode wreck ship, very, very at times difficult boss, and more particularly on the RNG side of things.
Yeah, I mean, the Phantoon play probably takes about 3 minutes, optimistically 3.5 if Phantoon goes kind of rough. But you know, that is a time sink that Alu has to be accounting for, as Wildcard is planning the rest of the seed out. And so what does Alu's path to the end of the game look like? He's going to beat Pod here, and then he still has Skullwoods and T-Rock left, which he's cleared T-Rock, so it's really just that Skullwoods play. It's going to be very close, actually, between Ivan and Alu, who can find their way into GT first. Because, of course, Alu not having Phantoon done doesn't actually have bearing on when he gets into Ganon's Tower. Whereas for Wildcard, WildAnaconda has got TR plus Hera plus Ice, but also Thieves Town, which he's in now, and Go Mode Swamp. So that is a lot of stuff in front of Wild still. So I think this is a race between Wild and Andy at this point.
Also would like to just point out some excellent communication on Team Fart's side there, with Ivan grabbing that Temper Sword on the Ice Palace big chest.
Yeah, where was the big key first chest?
First or second, I'm not sure. I think it might have been Freezor.
Oh, double Freezors. Yeah, I was gonna say, because if it wasn't in path, if it was right side, I can't imagine it's worth going out of the way for. But right, without knowing about that laser bridge sword yet, that is, like you said, really good communication on the part of Farts. Alu getting a little trolled by that skull.
Nice RNG there.
Yep. That bush every time, man. I don't know what it is about it, but anytime you have the boots and go to Skullwoods, that bush is there to wreck you.
Yeah, it's just any bush for me, Skullwoods area. When I see that rock, the frowns immediately occur. Worst spot in the game to catch them.
Yeah, because of course then you bonk back into one of the Ropas and take like 4 hearts of damage, and everything is horrible and nothing is okay.
Bad memories of those guys.
And you're remembering he does have that spring ball from Hylia Island on his Lower Norfair escape, so he's making quick work at this exit.
Yeah, he had a very nice short charge there into Morph to get through. Basically speedball through the reverse back in. It's really good.
Yeah, and for anyone in chat wondering who is ahead right now, on Team Farts, Ivan is ahead, and on Team Wildcard, Alucard is ahead. But as far as which team is ahead, just stay tuned and watch, because it is too close to call right now. This is going to be a really good race to the end. Absolutely fitting of the grand finals in this tournament.
In this case, too, it's also good that one team goes in slightly ahead of the other 2 GT as well, because now we can just map out where the big key is for their partner.
Oh, 100%. That's going to be useful information.
So say Ivan's like significantly ahead at this point. I wouldn't say significantly, but he is quite ahead. Andy does have to catch up 4 crystals versus Ivan's 1 to get to GT. So if, say, Big Key's at Tile Room, that's just going to catch him right up. Whereas Alu and Wild, that would probably be a negative experience just because they're going to be closer to each other.
Yeah, we'll see if the closeness of teammates makes a difference on how they choose to route Ganon's Tower. I think that they're far enough apart that they can basically do what they would want to do optimally for having one teammate explore, but it is going to be kind of close for a wild card. And we do see Ivan getting his Ice Beam and making his way through Turtle Rock. It'll be interesting to see, I guess Alu's going to be the first one into GT, because Fantoon's being saved for later. Because Ivan still has to clear T-Rock plus do Hera, so we might be tracking Alucard for big key locations. We'll have to see. Meanwhile, Wild is doing his Go Mode Swamp, always good. It's something runners are always happy to have happen. And Andy is going to be blazing his way through Pod, going to grab his Ice Rod, and then haul directly to Helmasaur King in the basement. Nice chomps room there from Ivan, using the iframes from that blue switch peg to clip on through one of those chain chomps that was trying to bite him and make it through with full health. Alucard again getting chomped. Those chomps are just not his friend today, but he does have 4 hearts.
That's a great visual aid there for viewers that may not be in tune to Link to the Past on how much damage the chain chomps really do. 6 hearts just disappearing like that with Green Mail. Very, very dangerous enemy in the game.
Yeah, the game absolutely expects you to have your blue mail by the time you get to Turtle Rock, and the enemies are designed with that in mind. Pretty much everything deals 3 or 4 hearts in this dungeon, with very few exceptions. Yeah, for anyone who's just joining and didn't catch the earlier Turtle Rock dive, we know that because Space Jump was at Checkerboard Cave, the intended access to Lower Norfair was via Flute in this seed, and so the runners found Flute all the way on Laser Bridge, or actually Alucard found it there for Team Wildcard. Team Farts has yet to find their Flute, but that was the thing to patch up the item sequence that Team Farts has basically said, we're in go mode, we're going to largely ignore what the logic wants us to do, because we just need to finish the game. But we'll see if they actually end up finding that Flute to tie it all together.
I think it's definitely one of those quirks that Team Farts will kind of have a good chuckle and enjoy where that Flute location was, because I doubt they're going to run into it and they'll just be like, oh, that's where it was.
And some select buffering here from Andy, setting up his hammer yump and doing a good job with it.
Yeah, tackled that jump nicely. Of course, still does not have the lamp. Did not go to Sea House. He's like, no, I want none of that.
Yeah, which also without half magic, his magic management through Upper Ganon's Tower is going to be important, but I mean, a player of his caliber should be absolutely fine.
Yeah, at this point, the only thing I can really see him getting trouble in the Dark Room is some really, really bad Terrapin RNG coming up in the Dark Rooms in Pod.
Yeah, and with Fire Rod, that helps mitigate a lot of that. But there's that last crystal for Alucard. So with 7 crystals, I believe we are going to see him head directly for Ganon's Tower and start scouting that out. So if you like to guess in chat where you think that big key will be, there are 22 possible locations. Guess an integer value 1 to 22 and see if you're right. We'll be counting them out.
Which one are you going to pick?
I'm a fan of Vanilla Big Key, so...
Not a number, disqualified.
I was going to say, I was going to say a number, but okay, I'm out. DQ'd. Done. No guess for me. What do you got?
I'm going to say 36.4 Firebar Room.
That is equally disqualified, sir. So
I don't know. You know what? I said a number. That's what you asked for, and we got it. So
I asked for an integer.
got him,
sir.
Round down.
But Terrapin's going well for Andy, making quick work of that, using that fire rod to get that torch lit. And Ivan taking the safety door here just to avoid catastrophe in the back of Turtle Rock. That's one of the things that you can see players who are in the lead on these teams do, is take that extra time and getting a little trolled by what's going on around him here. Everything in this room coming up not Ivan's way. But it's good that he took that safety, right? But yeah, he has time to burn, and that was, I believe, 4.
That's significantly quick. Of course, having the advantage of being in GT first, I'd say right side is the correct play. Just because
absolutely
that's longer to take.
And so far, Ivan has been making good work at Trinex. Just needs to do this last phase. Hopefully he's able to take care of it. And yeah, dodging that head nicely and not needing that safety door, but it did let him play a little more cavalier, so probably was the right call. And so he still has to do Tower of Hera before he gets in, but we see Alu is, because he was here first, going through and just seeing what he might be able to find in GT that could possibly make Wild's job a little easier when he gets here, because again, it doesn't matter how far ahead one player finishes. It's really just about the second teammate across the finish line, and so you could make a case about having someone finish really early being a psychological game versus the other team, because the other team will know when the first player finishes, but there's very little value to it.
Oh, okay, there we go. I was gonna say, Ivan, did you forget? But no, he's gonna go to Hera here. Oof, scare me when he dashed past like that.
Yeah, that that can always fool you a little bit.
Like, luckily it's right there, but you never know, right?
Yeah, and he will be making his way right up to Moldorm and then into Ganon's Tower. And just looking at the times here, for how kind of rough the sequence was, these are going to be good times on this seed for all 4 players. We're looking at, you know, sub 220 range for Alu and potentially Ivan with their loadout.
Yeah, excellent time too for them to finish actually in that sub 220 range. Tend to agree.
Yeah, getting a nice God Pixel Hellway dash there in Thieves Town. Always feels good when the RNG lines up to let you through. But yeah, Wildcard is still up a game in this match, so even if Team Farts takes this down, Team Farts isn't the winner of the tournament just yet, whereas if Wildcard happens to win, that's it. They've won the tournament, undefeated.
At this point, though, I would have to say that Andy really does need to hustle. Like, we need to see some extremely top-tier NMG skills, which we've come to know and expect from Andy.
Yeah, he's doing his best. He's doing a good job with it.
He is.
But
He's
he does have ground to make up.
I would say if Thebes led in this to T-Rock, like it would be much closer, but with Swamp as well to be done, it's another 2-3 minutes on his plate, so it's gonna be close. It still will be close. A lot of things can happen between now and the finish, but it looks like a lead is starting to develop here for Team Wildcard, I would say.
Yeah, I was thinking it was a 3-minute race, but it's looking more like a 5-ish minute race at this point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's the length of a Torian, so... You know, or it's shorter than a Torian, so... We'll see how things go.
Exactly, and like I said, there's a lot of places the game can go wrong in a hurry, so we'll have to wait and see how this develops.
And we see Alu, even though he's not really looking for anything, is doing a lot of those checks in Ganon's Tower just in case there's something of value. If there's, you know, a blue bottle, for instance, that would be a nice safety find. You know,
like another E-tank, supers, yeah.
Yeah, anything of that sort that could potentially speed things up for Wild, should he be able to grab them on his way through, are the sorts of things that he's looking for.
Andy actually going to route in his lamp here too. This is going to speed him up a little bit in TR, which is good.
Yeah, I think it's right to grab that lamp.
It's so close. Like the lamp is so close to Thieves Town exit. Like it's a good heads up decision. And not having half magic, I mean,
yeah, that's the big thing.
But it just depends on how magic drains in GT.
Yeah, like if you just, you know, miss one fire rod shot, that can really throw off the magic routing in GT. So it's a good call to grab that lamp. And a nice triple there to finish Aga 2 for Alu. So he will be dropping on into his Ganon fight, and then is going to have to, you know, save and quit, reset, and turn right from the ship to go for direct ship. We'll see if he gets if he gets cutscened at G4 and forgets about Fantoon, but I doubt he will. Yeah, we see right now WildAnaconda bringing up the rear for Team Wildcard. Does have the rest of Turtle Rock and then Tower of Hera left to do before GT. But the analogous position on Team Farts for Andy has this Swamp Palace and then T-Rock to do. So Go Mode Swamp is pretty quick, but it's that difference of a couple minutes here in Turtle Rock that I would say Wildcard is ahead by. And it's being pointed out that Wild has the Master Sword right now, but I think we're going to see him grab his Tempered right here in that third chest on Laser Bridge, and then go through to Trinex. So he will have his Tempered Sword for Ganon's Tower. Absolutely the right call. Well, again, we're talking about that good communication for the Ice Palace routing for Team Farts. Good communication by Team Wildcard.
Absolutely.
And a nice clean Ganon fight there for Alu. And get your G's in chat for Alucard finishing the first game of his 2. And he'll have to go through the wrecked ship and Torian before he can earn that GG. So, if you're Team Wildcard here and you're looking at the times and thinking you're looking at a low 220, do you feel? I mean, a low 220 is a great time. Do you feel safe with a low 220 on this seed? Or are you thinking that Team Farts might be right on your heels or even ahead with the way this one played out, Solsky?
I mean, just seeing how both teams routed and how the seed kind of played itself, I think both teams are probably thinking they have a really, really good crack at this, just knowing that The C did kind of get restricted towards the midpoint and the end point there with where Ice Rod and Speed could have been. So I'm thinking both teams probably feel pretty good, but they're also both anxious because they probably are going to assume the other team is like not too far behind, if not ahead at this point. Like, say we're running just in our background of as being a 2v2 team in this tournament. In this instance, I mean, you've been there. We're like, how ahead or behind are we right now? What do we need to do to try and get that win? So that's what both teams are kind of going through right now. They're going through the motions, settling their nerves, and just letting the mechanics do the rest.
Yeah, that's one of the big things is the end of this game. Once you hit go mode, you're going and you're finishing 2 games very typically. And so the end sequence is this long, protracted 20-minute thing of pretty intense execution. So those race nerves is you're like, I'm in go mode, or we're in go mode. How are you doing for your partner? And how are you tracking the position of both players? But it's really that race to the finish. And just watching chat for those dot dones. It's a pretty intense situation for both teams right now.
Right. Ivan does take a little bit of a fall here at Moldorm, but he is quite ahead of Andy right now, so not really going to hurt the team dynamic at all right now for the time. And you hit it right there with the 20 minutes. It is quite nerve-wracking. A little bit of a unique one compared to like just doing a solo randomizer with yourself, just because you're kind of worried about your own, but you're also like, how's my teammate doing? Where is he at right now? How far between times are we gonna be? So again, just very nerve-wracking situation.
Yeah, that said, Ivan being in the lead has a lot more luxury than Andy when considering, how much room do I have to make mistakes? Like, he was looking at going for that hover, and I guarantee he's like, I'm like, 90% at this hover. Why not? Oh, here we go. Yeah, he's got time to give. He's just going to meme it up. And nice hover there.
Oh, baby.
And finding out that it's just power bombs.
I guarantee you with that pause there, he just got the okay from Andy. He's like, yeah, you're good to go. Go ahead. Yeah, you're far enough ahead. Like, if you have to fight Moldorm a third time, then it doesn't make a difference at all. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. We may or may not see Andy go for it. He's consistent enough that I wouldn't be shocked. We're probably, I would say 99.7% sure we're gonna see Andy hover. It's like the Lysol guarantee right there. He's definitely gonna do it. It's not just like a meme or anything like that. It is faster than killing Moldorm himself, so you will save some seconds there. So I can definitely see him go for it. I think you're right. And I like the Lysol guarantee analogy. Pegasus Boots skips 99.9% of all Moldorms. Yeah. It's pretty strong. But we do see Wild is into Ganon's tower, meanwhile. Is going directly to the right side, because Alu didn't really find anything. So it's just going to be grab the big key and haul it up Ganon's tower. Alright, so WildAnaconda on Team Wildcard has grabbed his big key. Now he will be heading up the ascent of G Tower. Alucard making his way to Turian here. That is the end game location for Super Metroid after completing the 4 major bosses. And on Team Fart's side, we have Andy just going through the motions about midway through T-Rock, and Ivan now finishing his Ganon fight. Yeah, Ivan just lining up for that first G. Has gold sword and silvers, so. Right, and again, a good visualization if our viewers are wondering who's in the lead or not. A good way to break this situation down now is it's Alu versus Ivan, and it's Andy versus Wild. So Alu being potentially our first place here, noticing that he is already through Metroid 1 and 2 in Turian. Most likely will. Not the defining moment of this race. It is whoever essentially gets second or third, and that being the completion of the first team.
Yeah, and G for Ivan there. I see chat has already taken care of that. But like you said, Alu and Ivan are setting the pace here for both teams.
Right.
But what matters ultimately is the Wild v Andy race, unless something truly bizarre comes up.
And that's the telling one right now, is that Alu is at Gauntlet 5, about to head into Lamo 2, and Andy is just getting into Trinex right now. So he still has to get his pick. He still has to send GT. So I would say at this point, I'm going to ballpark it about 4.5 minutes behind.
Yeah, I kind of want to see a late Ganon fall on Wild's side to close this gap and make us sweat it out. But of course, I don't wish ill on anyone.
Right. So this is, again, because it's so execution heavy at this stage in the race, just the minor hiccups are going to be that thing that gives a runner such as Andy's caliber that chance to get back in the race right now.
Yeah, and Andy on his end is doing this blue mail 7 hearts, so not a ton of safety. And he did reset out of that powder, so he's gonna have to be hauling, but he's also gonna have to be careful on GT. It's gonna be really interesting to watch his execution here. Nice sword speed here on his way out, and he'll be into GT roughly as Wild gets to Moldorm 2.
Just like to pay attention here on bottom left of Ivan's execution through the Metroid rooms is it's outstanding.
Yeah, Ivan has beautiful Metroid rooms. These rooms for coming at the end of Super Metroid, not hard to do from a vanilla standpoint, but some of the most technical execution and input heavy rooms in the entire game. Very, very fast menuing required to do them well.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of a hiccup there in Metroid 3, but he does have a good backup switching the missiles, knowing his super count is getting lower, and he wants to maximize that for Mother Brain. Of course, Team Fart's not having the luxury of having Plasma Beam. In fact, Wild exclusively has that because of the route that he took through Wreck Ship. So really, they're not really, they have to be more eco-friendly when it comes to their equipment right now.
Yeah, which that is going to be one of the available catch-up mechanisms. And I don't know if that counted as a triple, but Aghanim 2 was cooperating pretty well, and then, of course, was a jerk immediately after for Wild, but...
And we're seeing now Ivan's attempt at the baby skip mechanic, where he's going to manipulate Baby to kind of jump around him, and he nails it. So that's going to save him at least 30 seconds from that phase. There's only about 4 or 5 jumps. That was good. Alu actually had a little bit of an issue with the Zebby skip with ice, so it's allowing Ivan here to catch up, which is a little interesting, but yeah, not too far apart now between the two runners.
Yeah, and we see Ivan also popping into this save room, the same thing that we saw Alucard do, and this is a strong play because the runners are more than 3 minutes ahead of their partners, and so they know that if something should go catastrophically wrong on the Mother Brain fight, having that save at the end of Torian is basically a get-out-of-jail-free card. And so, especially with only 4 E-Tanks, eating 1 ketchup here is, could be GG without taking that save.
I know that's a tactic we've actually discussed throughout this tournament is whoever's first by quite a margin, take that safety save, as you mentioned, just because why have that risk of first place now potentially getting behind the anchor runner?
Yeah, and while ultimately I don't think we've seen any Mother Brain fights go badly as Alu finishes up Mother Brain 2 and is transitioning to Mother Brain 3. We haven't seen Mother Brain fights go badly in this tournament. Just having that extra blanket of safety that is essentially 0 cost. I mean, it's the hallmark of good play. And we're getting some very loud Metroid distress noises, or Mother Brain distress noises from Alu. But Ivan is making good work of Mother Brain 2 into the catch-up phase. And that was a G there for Wild Anaconda. Chat is making sure that it's accounted for. He is going to be also headed to Torian. He should have a very good Torian as well. Another runner with top execution, and just everyone at really low health on Super Metroid, except for Wild. Wild got all the E-tanks, so he's going to have a pretty safe Torian, and probably will also go for the stand-up glitch, so that'll save another probably 25 seconds, 25 seconds.
Sorry, I just want to point out that Mother Brain's distress noises just gave me a really good chuckle there off mic. The only thing I had in mind there was like the space pirates hearing like the alarm. Oh, Mother Brain's in trouble. Better get set up at that back of escape again. So
yeah, they're all getting called to their battle stations as the planet explode. Like again.
All right. Yeah. All right, guys. You know the drill.
I like to think that they're very jaded in their roles, the space pirates, and they're kind of self-aware.
Yeah. Alright, so Alu's to the hard part. He just has the escape sequence here. We have 3 minutes. It's not going to take him that long to get through. He has all the piece of equipment he's going to need. Probably the final 2 portions of this race to pay attention on his screen is what happens with the, as you call it, the lead ox room, and what happens at the escape tunnel with speed.
Well, there's also what happens to the animals. That because he is
no.
he has an option, but we aren't going to talk about it. We're just going to leave it at that.
There's 0 option in your grand finals.
If you assess that the value is in having your teammates finish close, then it's the value play. So get those Alu values in chat. And that was a really nice management of a tough Agate 2 pattern from Andy, salvaging a double through a blue ball. Unfortunately, couldn't save a cycle, but really, really good play as Wild is setting up for his baby skip, going for space jump baby skip, and getting
that was greedy.
That was greedy. Really ambitious, but Alu making the right value call.
So space baby skip saves quite a bit more time than a traditional one because you're hopping along kind of guiding him, whereas space you're kind of guiding him with like 3 quick jumps there. So he would have saved, what, another 5-10 seconds, I think? Could be a little ambitious for that timing, but still.
Yeah. Ambitious, but would have saved an extra maybe 2 seconds. But Alu has finished in first place with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 12 seconds.
This is good because now you're gonna see Andy in Wild sweat.
Yeah, this is where you watch the execution of the tailing teammate, because I can tell you there's some interesting things happening in the SRL chat right now as Ivan is getting onto the ship, and I'll let you call it, Solsky.
And Ivan finishing now with 2nd place with an official SRL time of 2:23:01. Alu, you said I think earlier was a 2:22:12.
Yeah.
And I'll just say this: oh baby, oh my. These teams know that one runner from each team is finished, so they're now sweating it out. That being said, I mean, this is Wild's game. Super Metroid, he's so proficient at it. He's in his element right now.
Yeah, but these teams are teams that are fully capable of having the runners finish 20-30 seconds apart from one another. It's anomalous, at least for Team Farts, to have a finish that is this disparate. And honestly, I don't think I've seen Team Wildcard have a finish where Alu was leading by this much, ever. So
yeah, I agree. It's just really how the seed played out, and we talked about it a little bit. This seed was basically one runner is going to be really ahead, one runner is really behind it. It's very, very hard to protect against that. Wild now is setting up for the stand-up glitch as well. I know his mentality is always do stand-up if you can. Let's see if he gets it here.
There's no way he's not doing stand-up.
Yeah.
There's
I don't see him missing it either.
Oh! Okay,
That's
here we go.
Very close.
Yeah, he got it done.
Alright, and beats the first condition of stand-up by jumping as Mother Brain, or sorry, excuse me, Baby Metroid swoops in there. It's important to jump, causing the stand-up glitch, because if you do not jump during that that focus of it, you'll actually get forced back to the ground.
Yeah, but he is managing it like a champ, and thankfully this second time where it tries to anchor you to the floor, if you do get anchored, he has X-ray and would be able to stand up. So, he is in the clear, but we'll see how many shots he tries to squeeze out here, because you can generally squeeze 7 in on post-baby dying.
Yeah.
And so, safe is 6.
This is a really, really clean stand-up too. He's optimal here. Like, optimal is pretty much one rainbow beam and he's dead. He's pretty close to it.
Wow, yeah. He is not messing around.
He's going for it too.
He's getting the one shot.
Yeah.
He knows he's got it. He has his count.
Oh, that
nice
is the
stand-up.
Perfect stand-up glitch. Well done by Wild. And again, through the hard part, as Andy is just going through Phase 4, or Metroid 4 as it's known in the SM community. So at this point, I would say it's Team Wildcard's race to lose.
Yeah, as it has been, something truly weird would have to happen. We will not be seeing any animals from Wild Anaconda. This is a race to the ship, because Andy could be anywhere. As it turns out, Andy is on his baby skip, but he could be, you know, frames from the ship at any point. So this is going to be Wild's going to be sweating out this escape.
I think he's got this. He's cool as a cucumber right now. He's doing everything well. I would almost say perfectly. Again, speaking to Andy's NMG skills, this is speaking to Wild's executional skills in Super Metroid. Doesn't go for Behemoth, yeah, he's just playing it safe there.
Yeah, traditional right side safe spark, no risk there. Maybe a little bit of nerves on a wall jump or two there on Parlor, but overall a clean escape.
Right, and as Wild Anaconda enters the ship, he is now done. So, with Wild Anaconda finishing 3rd place with a time of 2:27.21, ladies and gentlemen, your grand final champions of the Super Metroid Link to the Past Randomizer 2v2 tournament are Team Wildcard. Congratulations to them both. Excellent and well-deserved, undefeated through this tournament, dominated.
Yeah, I want to see those Alu loves and those Wild An1 loves in the chat. These guys have earned it. Congratulations to Team Wildcard on a beautifully run tournament, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
They put in the work, and it showed, and just another really nice race from them. And that's not to sell Team Fart short at all.
Oh,
those guys put up a heck of a fight.
I mean, there's a reason why this is a rematch. Meeting in the winners final and then meeting back in the grand final, coming back from the losers final there. Well deserved, and again speaks volumes to both these teams. Really just high level play overall, and this grand finals was a treat. Honestly, it was a great race.
Oh yeah, and hopefully they will come chat with us. And actually, it looks like they are here in the setup room, so we'll see when they are ready to come and talk. But I'm looking forward to chatting with them about this run and the tournament as a whole, because this was a treat. This was a really good run. We see 177 items there on Alu's side. We'll see how many Wild got, but with doing a little more of the heavy lifting in Super Metroid, I think we'll see a little higher collection rate. But I see it in chat. Let's go hard mode. We will have a hard mode exhibition race between these two teams in a 2v2 following this race very shortly. But in the meantime, we're hopefully going to have Wild and Alu come chat a little bit about the tournament. And then I think we're going to have Kekuman Shoyu come by and share some thoughts on the tournament from an organizer perspective here, following up chatting with Alu and Wild. So stay where you are. It's going to be a fun handful of minutes here.
Yeah, so while we have a little bit of time here, because it does look like they're going to wait for Team Farts to finish, let's just do a little self-reflection ourselves of how this race went. We both agree it was excellent. It was a nice, tight race, well executed, well routed. Just honestly a dream matchup, to be honest, in the 2v2 scene right now. What was like the defining point that really got hold of you of this race?
I mean, honestly, the defining points for me were the fact that the Swamp play and the T-Rock play that we saw from Team Wildcard, that neither of them really paid out, but that they had just done such a great job of balancing that they were able to recover, and even though they had a later go mode, still able to convert that into a win. That was, one of the more surprising things about how this one went down. I don't know how you felt about it, Solsky. Did you have something in mind?
I mean, it's that whole game of, okay, how do we get to Lower Norfair? I think the pop of Space Jump to me was like, okay, this is gonna go real smooth now. Just both teams making that decision to break and catching that item, because now they had options. They either chase this sequence and perhaps get punished only to flute, which is, it's how the seed went about itself. And then both teams just decided, you know what, let's just continue on and press forward, which they did. And it was just such a heads up call. It was good. And that felt like the, okay, let's go kind of moment of the seed was finding that, because it was like the last piece of the puzzle for Super Metroid.
Yeah, Space Jump, where it was definitely really informative and jarring. Just as a result of this being normal logic, it wouldn't have been a signal at all in hard logic, but just the amount of information we got from that Space Jump being at Checkerboard Cave was really, really big. And we see Andy is having a nice escape, making his way up Parlor. Now with, really just playing out the string here, we'll see. He is going to try and finish as quickly as possible. Screw the animals. They can find their way off on their own. I agree with this decision. And he has made it to the ship. And so Andy has finished in 4th place, 2:32.20, the official SRL time. Still a very, very nice time on a tricky seed. So
again,
GG.
Congratulations to both our teams for putting on a hell of a show, really. It was a great watch. It was great.
Absolutely. Both teams worthy of being in the finals, and this race living up to all the hype. So one more reminder before this exhibition race comes up. If you haven't yet, go follow the runners. Just absolutely great. And I see that we are now joined by both of our teams, our victorious Team Wildcard, Alucard2004 and WildAnaconda69, and also Team Farts, who just completed this seed, Andy and Ivan. GG all around. How are you guys feeling?
Oh, my heart there at the end. It's going pretty fast.
Hey, same.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, usually I'm finishing in front of Ivan, so like me missing Babyscape is like, whatever. But this time I was like, oh god, if I miss Babyscape, we could lose this race, and then I got it, and then we lost immediately afterwards, pretty much.
Yeah, that was one of the crazy things was, Andy, you were behind, and Wild was also behind on Team Wildcard, and that was kind of a flip of the typical dynamic for how things were playing. And I'm sure that seeing those .duns pop up in that order was really kind of crazy being on the inside of that race.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Considering
absolutely.
Alu is normally like the bane of Team Wildcard's existence against us. I was like, huh, Alu finished first. I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, I'm sure that like it kind of threw like both of us for a loop, I guess, like with Alu finishing first, and then also like Ivan also finishing like right after him.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know how to feel about where you guys were or anything.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it was close.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like
same.
we haven't had a lot of matches where it's like, you know, we don't both finish first,
Yeah,
honestly. So like that was awesome to see that nail biter ending.
Yeah, this was a great race through and through, honestly. And even late into the race, it was hard to tell, you know, where the lead was or, you know, how far ahead one team was over the other, because, I mean, like you said, it was a tight race, and it was easier to track how things were going intra-team than inter-team. It was clearly a race for first between, you know, Alucard and Ivan. But then assessing where Andy and Wild stood relative to one another was pretty tough for a while. How did y'all feel about that space jump location, though?
Yeah,
I
that was a location.
Yeah, we were talking about it in IRC a little bit, but like after Lava Dive, I just immediately went into Zelda to check the Mire area and just walked into checkerboard and went, well, Flute's probably in a real dumb spot then.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing with me. Like I was in there first, I was like, oh, so it's Flute is our progression here then, because we were fully aware of like something that Alu and I do when we do these is we just say, okay, so like what we're doing is out of logic. What we need to get in logic is such and such and such, just so that like we're keeping that in the back of our mind for like if something bad starts to happen, we can know like how to backtrack and figure out where things might be that we need. And so we're like, well, Flute, like there weren't a whole lot of locations left, and Flute was our way that we were supposed to get there. So where could it have been? And then just awful last chest in TR.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. One of the things that reminds me of a thing that I wanted to ask about: how cognizant were you guys through the seed of the break to grapple and what that meant for your progression through Meridia versus bombs?
Was that out of logic?
Yeah, the wall jumps to
Yes.
Gauntlet were out of logic.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
news to me.
Interesting. I guess I always forget that those wall jumps are up.
We weren't really thinking about them too much because eventually, you know, Wild found SM bombs and space jump and stuff. But I guess SM bombs were in Meridia. But like you could backdoor pretty easily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
and
interesting-
that was the intended line. Sorry, Wild, go ahead.
No, that's okay. It's good that you pointed that out because like that completely like went over. I remember when I went into Gauntlet, I was like, this isn't in logic, but then I immediately stopped thinking about it and forgot that was the case. But then the interesting thing though was when bombs was our first item to get into Norfair. It was either bombs, but in the back of Meridia, or then it was high jump at the front. And so for a while, like we had gone into the back of Meridia initially because you had to in order to full clear it without ice or speed, which we hadn't gotten yet. Of course, because that was inside Norfair. So like we were thinking, oh, if we made this play into the back of Meridia to get these bombs, and then like there's a bunch of value inside Norfair, like this could be huge. But then like the other entrance into Norfair was also high jump, so like that was an interesting thing that we were thinking about.
Yeah, which that high jump, because the way to get it was bombs, you had to backdoor Meridia to get the bombs to within logic go get high jump, because you couldn't get grapple without the bombs in logic.
Alright.
And so it was this really sort of twisted thing where I think we saw Andy go to Gauntlet, go grab grapple, and aggressively go check or get the high jump boots that he had found, and chase that.
Grapple before going to Meridia, and then I was like, wait, I literally can't do anything else in here. I need to go get grapple.
Yeah, which that's, you know, unfortunate, but you know, it worked out pretty well because you're able to, you know, grab your high jump boots and then chase into Upper Norfair, but before doing grabbing the bombs in the back of Meridia Precious Room, which what a spot for bombs, given that you didn't have in logic access out of Dragon for normal mode until you got those bombs at Precious.
Right.
That is crazy, actually. With Speed Booster where it was too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Speed and Space Jump being where they were, like, it was just...
You couldn't even get Flute and do it because the Red Cane was at Main Street, so it's crazy.
Yeah, this seed was
The day
a
totally
masterpiece.
The other thing, though, that we were concerned about with Grapple was when Alu got owned by the shot blocks and then went down on the side to only get bombos. So I was okay, I need to be really I need to be checking like X-ray really early. I need to be checking Spring Ball. Like, hopefully we have some other way for him to get into the wreck ship by that point. Like, you know, so I was like, okay, these things could be really come back and bite us.
I was so nervous about that the whole time.
God. Yeah, it was pretty good. I watched Alu like line up very carefully over the wrong block.
Calculated, dude.
Yeah,
Let's call that calculated.
Michael's like, I think Alu actually meant to skip that. I'm like, I don't know about that.
it was. I think what I said was, this looks intentional.
I mean, I'm sure it did look intentional, but...
it was very intentional, I guess.
In a way.
Good. You know, Grapple sucks. It keeps them from having to ever check Shack Tool, right?
It also changed a lot of our routing and stuff, too, because I was like, what if I have to go to, like, Norfair Reserve or something, because I'm not good at that damage boost to get across. So it's just like, oh god, we have to really change up what we're doing, because we made it work, I guess, but it was a tension always.
Yeah, I see Chad asking a question about your big bomb play, Alu. Were you trying to bomb dupe, or was that, did you just think
sure, we'll go with that. I just
again.
The thing about co-op in combo is that you actually like don't focus on what you're doing when you're like talking with other people.
Yeah.
You get bodied. Like, and that's exactly what happened there and in a few other places. So I tend to do a lot of the Link to the Past routing for the team, for both of us. And so, like, oftentimes I'm thinking about what Wild's next step is, and I'm not thinking about what I'm doing, and so my execution is just suffering left and right. I'm, like, going up and down elevators, back and forth and stuff, like an idiot. But it's, overall, it ends up working out, because we find some cool routes to go on.
The funniest thing about that, though, is that, like, he did the same thing in a practice race that we did yesterday. So, it's like...
I just hopped off the ledge with the bomb, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go, bye. And then I'm like, I don't have the bomb. Where's the bomb? And I scroll over the street again, and then it blows up. And then I don't have the rupees to buy another bomb. And then I'm like, I guess I'm gonna go check Stumpy. And then I kill a guy, and he gives me the money to get the bomb, and so I go back. And it was good times.
It was a pretty grand sequence. It was top tier.
I try.
But yeah, so I guess Wildcard, you guys have taken down the tournament, but y'all are gonna play another exhibition following this, right? Doing some
Hooray!
Yeah, so this entire tournament has been the normal mode, basically really only affecting the logic for Super Metroid. But the next race we're going to do is going to be hard mode, which basically is putting into logic any reasonable like trick that a speedrunner of this game might know. So there's potential for some really cool, logically required yeah, you know, which two sides of the same coin. Really interesting things that can pop up logically. So
It can also just be the same as normal.
exactly. That's the other. That's the,
which is the ultimate got him, honestly.
Come on.
Mode seeds, you just do all the ridiculous slow stuff, and it's like, oh, I could just do normal.
Man, I could have had this various suit forever ago.
Question.
No, unfortunately.
is Hellrun stuff involved in this too?
Yes.
It's in logic.
Okay. So it's like with
So,
like
3 or
3
4
tanks or something. Yeah.
Anything
3
in
to
Upper
ice beam and then 5.
Anything in
Okay.
Upper Norfair would be 5. The screw attack item is included, and then Ice Hell Run is 2 E-tanks.
Okay.
Don't forget, you can find your first power bombs at the moat.
Yep. Oh god, it's so
Oh,
good.
shucks.
That plus like morph at grapple is like my other favorite.
That's
ew.
Forgotten Highway.
Terrible.
Yeah, morph
I
no
was like
speed
trying
at
to figure out how
grapple.
to do that.
Morph no
like
speed at
Forgotten
grapple is
Highway?
great.
Dude, the first time I went
my
through
God.
Forgotten Highway, I was like, dude, I haven't seen this room since my casual playthrough. Where's my X-ray?
Yeah, you'd have to go through the Meridia portal into going through Forgotten Highway to get your first power bombs at Moat. It's so unlikely.
Gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that that's
I
in
have a lot
logic.
of fun thinking about all of that stuff. But that actually one particular thing is in there because of cross product. Actually, when he made a really awesome plando for combo, and in his creation of this, actually discovered that that's something that you could do. And when we went through the logic, and I made the logic, we didn't consider that at first. So that was something we added in afterwards.
Mm.
Yeah, that plando was excellent. So big props to Cross on getting that piece of the logic in. It was pretty cool. But thank you guys for letting Solsky and I commentate this. I think Keku is going to pop in and share some wisdom from the organizer perspective here very soon. So I want to make room for him. So
And
welcome,
definitely thank you
Keku.
guys for commentating.
Absolutely.
You know, everybody who's commentated and helped out during the tournament, our trackers here as well. And everybody who's just made this tournament happen, all the admins behind the scenes, speed gaming staff. I think this tournament has been a lot of fun, and I hope, you know, it's showcased how awesome this combined randomizer is, and hopefully a lot more people will start playing it, and maybe we can do another tournament sometime. I love this co-op format. I think it's really cool where you can information share and such.
Yep.
Hey, welcome in, Keku.
Hello.
Hey.
So, speaking of another tournament, yeah.
Oh baby.
I am looking into organizing another tournament. As far as like 2v2 or 1v1, we're not sure yet. But I'm waiting for some update to happen from Total. But other than that, yeah, like I'm down for another tournament.
Two.
It's been super fun. It's been super fun.
Yeah, shout outs to you, Keku, for like putting this whole thing together. Like, this has been a blasty blast. Let me tell you.
Nice. I'm glad everybody had fun, and viewers enjoyed it, and everybody. So, anyway, thanks to your guys' tracker. I think it was Link Force, and who else? Sorry, I just came in a while ago, and yeah, you know, taking care of stuff. But Dimensive. Okay. Anywho, you guys ready for the exhibition?
Woo!
No.
Absolutely. I think we want to take a short breather.
Oh, I need food.
Yeah, before we do that. But yes.
Yeah. So, I guess I should be a bit honest here. Couldn't generate a new seed, so I have a fun seed for you guys to do.
Oh, goody.
Oh Jesus! All right.
Teehee.
Not like this.
Wait.
Yeah. So, have fun, guys. I did.
Is this anything like that dumb like 4-hour seed that I did that you gave me that one time?
It depends if you can do it. No, it depends if you can do it. Yes, but I'm pretty sure you guys can do it. Like,
I'm gonna go
if it-
get food.
if it,
Send me the seed whenever. I'll put it on my SD card.
I did it in about less than 4 hours. So
That sounds promising.
and but I done it by myself. So with you guys doing 2v2, so it could be faster. Yeah. But again, I'll post it somewhere so you guys can see it. But
just make another race channel right now. I'm on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I can't generate another seed, so it's gonna be there in the Discord, I guess. Anyway, thanks Maniaco and Soski for doing the grand finals match, and GG's to team Wildcard and GG's to team Farts. You guys perform amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keku.
Yeah, don't touch that dial, folks. We'll be back in like 10-15 with some awesome hard mode showcase race.
I'm sorry. Oh boy. Okay, have fun. I'll set up the seat.
Yeah, and while they do that, I guess Solsky and I are on our way out. We're going to be making way for the commentators that y'all are going to have to take you through the hard mode exhibition seed. It's going to be Gesellschaft and Elminster RTA, another team, the Canadian Cack Attack crew from this tournament, and so they are going to do an awesome job. I am super stoked to listen to them.
The professors of each game, that's great.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Their cumulative knowledge is just second to none, and they are gonna have a hell of a time with whatever Keku has in store.
There are gonna be infinite knowledge bombs dropped. Your mind will be blown.
But yeah, I think that is gonna do it for Solsky and I. But like was said, do not touch that dial. We'll be back very shortly with this hard mode seed and another exhibition race in 2v2 between Team Farts and Team Wildcard. It's gonna be very good. But I want to thank my partner in crime here in commentary and also in this tournament as the better half of Team Bootless Suitless, Solsky. Thank you for rearranging your schedule to do commentary on this, man. It was a lot of fun.
I mean, nothing. There's zero regrets with that. The race was everything I hoped for. It was a great comm. It was a great race to watch. So, just as we're kind of in there closing now, just want to give a quick shout out again, Echo. Thanks to the admins, to the organizers, to the comms, to the trackers, the restreamers, Speed Gaming, and the runners. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to make this happen. And it's been a blast. It's probably been my favorite tournament so far. I've done quite a few of them now, so it's been a blast. And again, thanks, guys.
Yeah, the nature of teams, everyone it was very good natured. Even in losing, like there was salt, but it was really mitigated by having someone there with you, and all the teams were just top notch. A lot of positivity, really great tournament. I hope to run it back because I had a ton of fun. But like you said, want to shout out specifically our trackers, Link Force and Dimensive, who did an awesome job throughout this whole race. Go give them a follow while you're following the runners. And that is going to do it for me. I've been Maniacal, been joined by Solsky, and I'm looking forward to join y'all in the spectator bracket here in just a minute.
Yep, same here. And take care, everyone. Have a great night.